All right, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Forum.
What's
It
that to the
hasn't started.
music?
No music. No
Oh,
music.
right. Okay.
The budget.
He hasn't added it in there
Well,
yet.
has the bailiff been around or something? Like, took the fucking opening theme tune. We got a
Stan.
going out. Okay. I need to know that. Have we got a going out theme tune, a closing theme tune?
Probably not.
Oh,
I'm trying to mirror. I'm trying to mirror what our football club has been doing to us. So, all funds are being held over till next season. Stan.
What happened to the war chest?
We have war chest disappeared in January.
Shit.
We had no war chest at all.
I feel like we've gone down a division. We've got no intro, no outro. I mean, how am I supposed to work like this?
You stand, if you click on the thing there, you can, the plus sign, you can add your own local video.
Okay. Well,
so we can watch.
It just caught me off guard.
Stan, give us a video.
It just caught me off guard. So I suppose we're live. So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to the show, everyone. There's no intro, but good evening.
No intro, just us three. And I think Gary might be joining a little bit later as well. Mike Hers is in the house. He's joined us here. White, BX Gunner's in the house. Great to hear that, Misfit.
Since Mike has joined us.
And we have, sorry, I've not been around the last couple of months, but had a family crisis that made football irrelevant. Everything's better now. I'm extremely happy to say that is good news.
Good news, yes.
Sorry.
Good news.
Sorry that things did happen, but you had a good resolution to it. And, Miss Molina's in the house too. Miss Molina's joined us. Glad that things are better now, Steve. Exactly. Yeah, listen, we always want the best for our viewers and for everybody in general, right? Michael's in the house as well. So listen, as people file in and discover we're still doing this thing, we're still
there's still life in the old horse yet.
Still life in the old horse yet, but I'll tell you what, Stan, I'll just start off telling you, I'm tired today. I've been tired this week, and I'm tired of this season. Tank, whatever you want to say, the season's over.
I'm glad the season's over. That was a question to me. I'm glad to see the back of it. I was looking forward to seeing the back of it a few games ago. In fact, I went away on a holiday with the missus for a week to get a bit of sun. And during my trip, I missed two games. The Liverpool one and the, what was one after that? Was it Newcastle?
Newcastle.
Yeah, see, I don't even remember. And usually when I'm in a situation where I'm traveling, not going to be away, I make sure that I've got myself set up so that no matter where I am or what time it is, whether I'm in an airport or at the hotel, resort, or whatever, I can log in and see what's going on. Didn't care. I'm just like, whatever. I'm sure I'll find out the score at some point. I'll just enjoy my holiday. Do you know what I mean? I was already on holiday, like they say about some players. They're already on the beach. I was kind of like, whatever, it's done. Just wrap it up now. Finish. I mean, the best way to put it is like, if someone had said to you, right, at the beginning of the season, that there will be 3 London clubs at the end of the season that would walk away with silverware, but Arsenal wouldn't be one of them, you'd be like, what? What are you talking about? You'd be like, you're mental. But that's where we are. 3 London clubs walk away with silverware, and we are not in the story. Didn't even reach a final of any of them.
Yeah.
So it makes that Europa one hurt more. Because first, it's Spurs. It's a trophy that we haven't won. So it's like,
and it's not like we haven't had a crack at that one. We had a crack at that a few times, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the biggest thing, Stan, is, and Tony will attest to this, out of the Champions League, the teams that didn't qualify for the knockout stage, they did not drop into the Europa League, thereby keeping and maintaining the Europa League standard as dirt. And so Tottenham and Manchester United contested the dirt final because there was dross and left in the knockout stage of the Europa League.
That should have happened years ago, though. I always hated the parachuting in.
Yeah. I mean, it should have happened. But we were in the competition years ago. It didn't happen. It always seems that Arsenal missed a trick somewhere.
But I will say as well, looking back at that season, the bright spot for me the one piece of that season that is a real, shining spot for me is the two games against Madrid.
Yep.
I really enjoyed those. If you just put those games into isolation and take away a lot of the other stuff, do you know what I mean? I really enjoyed that. But I mean, there are so many things about the season gone that really upset me. I mean, remember at the very beginning of the season, we were talking about how we learned that a number of Premier League clubs from the previous season had written to the PGMOL complaining that we were using dark arts, that we're pulling the wool over the referees' eyes. You've got to watch Arsenal. As soon as I heard about that and started to see that the way that we're being over-reffed, I was just like, well, that's it then. That's it. No matter what else happens this season, we've got another thing that we've got to fight here, and the referees have taken note because the other clubs were crybabies. So there's, you know what I mean? You're starting on the wrong foot, and then it unfolds. You see some of the decisions that were given against us. The Declan Rice where the ball bounces off his ankle and taps it away, and in the same game, someone's literally hoofing it out of the stadium to clear the ball, and nothing. And you're seeing things like this. You're seeing William Saliba get punished for a clash of heads. I mean, when's that ever been a thing? You get punished for a clash of heads. You know what I mean? You should be looking at getting medical attention.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to see all these things, and to me, it was really grinding away at me throughout the season, seeing some of these decisions and the points that inevitably we were dropping. Players having to miss because of stupid calls, because of red cards, goals being disallowed that should have been goals. You're just thinking to yourself like it's an uphill battle as it is, right? You don't need this on your shoulders as well. So when that started to happen, it really sort of like started to piss off my season from an early point. And then on top of that as well, you put that into one basket, and then you could also then get out, the number of injuries that we had to some of the key players that missed quite a lot of time. Tomiyasu, do you know what I mean? There's like wanted posters up of him all over North London. Have you seen this man? He's on milk cartons. Have you seen this guy? We don't know where he is. Losing key players like Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli was out for a while. Some key injuries. That didn't help as well. And then of course there's been a little bit of, the striker situation. Both of those going out and getting injured at separate times. And then on top of that, the January window was a very disappointing one. It seemed like the manager wanted to make moves, but for whatever reason, maybe better reasons, as we'll find out this summer, the club pulled the reins in and didn't give him, didn't really support him in that window, and that was a bit of a disappointment to everyone. So yeah, other than that bright spot, as I say, which was the 2 legs by Real Madrid, I couldn't wait to see the back of this season.
Yeah,
sounds a bit doomy and a bit gloomy, but
I mean,
that's how it kind of was for me this season.
There's different segments that we'll go through later that I want to pose to all of you, and Gary might join us as well, which will highlight the different segments and the different issues we had this season, because there are probably threefold. The PGMOL being one, the injury situation, how Mikel Arteta addressed those injury issues, and the third one, the club not helping our season at all, and basically signed off on a very, very poor season in January. And then at that point, I'll say, Stan and Tony, at that point I said, well, if the club doesn't care about the rest of the season, I'm kind of not going to care about the rest of the season either. It's not as if these injuries happened in March or February when the window had shut.
They did happen in February. That's when Kai went down.
Well, one of them, yeah. Well, we had Saka and we had Gabriel Jesus get injured. We had Odegaard before that as well. And
Odegaard, Ben White was out, wasn't he? Calafiori's been out for a while. Tomiyasu, well,
I think Ben White was still hurt from last season.
Yeah, I know, but irrespective, Tony, every Arsenal fan felt that we would do something in January.
I've been actually quite remiss here in my summary of the season. There is one other bright spot as well that I forgot to mention, and it's quite, I'm kicking myself of how I've forgotten it. The emergence of Miles Lewis-Skelly,
of course,
was something that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
For me, I was kind of like putting my money on that Wanari was going to be the one. He was going to be like the next chosen one. And don't get me wrong, he's still kind of in there, but the emergence of Skelly, in some of the big games that he played in, and you've got to think as well, this is a young man that this is not even the position that he's been playing in for most of his youth career. And he's adapted so well into the way that Mikel Arteta wants someone to play in that position. And he was fortunate to get him because of injuries, but he nailed it down so much so he gets England caps, and he's not just going along as a voyeur to sit in the back seat and just watch how it's done. He's starting the game, he's scoring on his debut, and he's getting man of the match awards at international level. I mean, and then on top of that, the mental aptitude that he's got when he done the Haaland goal scoring celebration, some of the vitriol that came out against him, I thought some of it was quite, a bit. You're going across the line now a little bit with what you're saying, and he still was able to, and he didn't let it, put him down in the doldrums. No. He kept doing his thing, and he was almost poking two fingers up. And I was like, how's he doing that at this age? A lot of people have just folded on that, right? Having this kind of being under that spotlight for the wrong reasons. Some people might, and he seems to have that as well. So, I don't know if we are going to do match ratings at some point, and in any kind of a poll or whatever, I do surveys, I never give a 10 because I always think, well, they'll never improve, will they, if you give them a 10? You know what I mean? Give them a 9. But with Skelly, I'd give him a 10.
Okay.
And I would definitely give him a 10 because what an emergence, what a way to announce yourself.
ESPN gave him an 8, but that's not considering how young he is or anything.
I'll go along with what Stan's saying, but give him a 10 for sure. That's how you feel. But the player himself, he does need to. He's a little bit raw. He needs to learn. He needs to learn the nuances of the game a little bit.
He's 18, right?
He's a yellow card. He's a card attractor. Cards get attracted to him. He's gotten into some hot water in a few situations, and hopefully he can sit back and have a nice holiday this summer and think about not only all the good things that Stan said, which are completely true about Myles Lewis-Skelly, but he's got to clean up his game a little bit when it comes to position.
Well, he's got the perfect person to advise him on that because, Gabriel Megalegs kind of went through a similar sort of trajectory, right? As an Arsenal player, he used to go in sometimes, get a little bit rash, maybe get involved in the needle when he doesn't have to, picking up silly cards here and there. And he seems to have totally turned that around. Yeah. So,
it's amazing the way that Gabriel plays, and he doesn't get any cards or get in any trouble.
He's learned. He's grown up and learned in the game as well. And I think Gary makes a good point about David Luiz teaching him some things. Right, that was some Portuguese right there. Tony, will you sort out a link for Lonnie right there? Said he never got the link. If you could do the yeoman's duty there and send them the link, I'd really appreciate that. Stan, you just summed up how bad the season was, Stephen said. And for me, the highlight was the two City games. I finally just watched the Madrid games, and they were crap. It wasn't the team we played.
Before we move on from Skelly,
what's that?
Why? Before we move on from him, why haven't we seen him play before? Because he looked fully ready the entire time. It's your manager not giving him the faith or whatever it is.
Age, listen.
Because what he did on the pitch, come on, Ray.
Yeah.
He put Winery out there when he was 15, but doesn't put Winery out there when Odegaard's out.
Right, but Myles Lewis-Skelly has played a decent chunk of games, maybe more minutes than he's needed to, or we should have given him. But the situation was dire in our fullback positions. We were running with Timber and White, Myles Lewis-Skelly, Calafiori here. We never had a full season really of players in our team. So I think it was down to age a little bit. Stephen said you have to acknowledge that Myles Lewis-Skelly was hung out to dry. Let me see if I can get this by his teammates on a couple of times. Got hung out to dry by his teammates on a couple of those cards. Yeah, there was a couple of situations where we're pressing But there is a little bit of something in the player as well that we'd like. Stan, there's a little bit of something in the player, Mazu Skelly, we like about him, but for me, he's got to hone in some of that rah rah in his game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's very early days for him, right? Who knows what kind of player that he's going to become, and I'm sure that he'll look back on the season that's just gone, and you look at what he could be doing better.
Yeah.
I just wish we gave him a chance in the midfield to see if we actually need to spend that much on a defensive midfielder.
Other than inverting, right?
I mean, inverting doesn't count, right? I mean, it's you're a wing back. It doesn't matter if you go inside or outside. You're a wing back.
Remember, he didn't rate Saliba either. He sent him out loan a few times and get White as number 4. So yeah, I mean, listen, we're getting to this point, and we're probably going to get into it tonight. We're getting to a point, Stan. We might as well talk about it right now, where some people have lost faith with Mikel Arteta. Some people are starting to lose faith with Mikel Arteta. And BX has a little bit of flavor of that. The sooner we get a new manager, the better our talent and quality will be, says BX.
It's weird BX's turnaround because he supported him for so long.
Yeah, I know. I think you do lose faith at a certain point in time. Stan, I'll go to you with this one first, and then Tony. Mikel Arteta, what do you see?
Well, as you know, and I've said it many times, I'm not an in or an outer. I'm never that. I don't have to be that defined. I do percentages, and at the moment, I'm on that sort of 60-65% where I'm kind of had enough, and sort of like 40-35 where I still want him in. That's what my percentage is. Mm-hmm. But one of the most important things for me is the business that we do this summer. Now, at the end of the transfer window and going into the pre-season and having a look at these players, that percentage is going to either go up or go down. You know what I mean? But this story, what you said about, the people want him in, some people want him out. It's always been like that. Mm-hmm. For me, it's always kind of been like that online. Yet when you hear about people that go to the games, the people that actually go to games week in, week out, there seems to be collectively in the stadium a feeling of togetherness and that they're still behind the manager. It just seems to be the online and some of the podcasts there are some podcasts that to me just seem that they're just dedicated to talk about Arsenal's pitfalls and mistakes and things like that. Do you know what I mean? That seems to be the only thing that they want to discuss. And maybe that draws an audience. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I think next year it should be a short leash for the fans. I think they're getting to the point where they'll get fed up of not winning anything. And I think everything Henry said was right on the mark.
I think there is a breaking point. Yeah. And I do think that we are now, depending on what happens in this season ahead, after the money that's been, mooted, that kicked around, that we're going to spend a lot of money. So if the owners start to see that there's no return coming, maybe that makes them make a move, right? So I think that this season is going to be very important to what happens with Mikel Arteta's future.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
But do you like that Berta's already getting overpowered by Arteta and going, okay, we'll get Sisco?
Overpowered.
Apparently.
Yes. Is he wrestling into the floor? And how do you know it's not a case of, as we're moving into this area, it sounds like Arsenal and the scouts and all of that side of things have been looking at this person for quite a while. It's not a recent person that's come onto a player that's come onto their list. He's been on the radar for a while. And it's probably fair to say that the dossier on Sisco, they've probably got a bigger dossier on him at Arsenal than Andrea Berta has. Obviously, Berta will know of him, but he probably hasn't got as an in-depth dossier as Arsenal scouts have, because that's what they've been doing and watching for quite some time now. How do you know it's not a case of that they presented him with their information and he's gone, oh, yeah, looking at the team and looking at what you've identified here, maybe this guy is better. It doesn't have to be somebody won this one and somebody lost this one. So the next transfer now, I've got to get mine in to make it 1-1. I would hate it to think that that's where we are already. The guys just come in. I'd like to think that there was a bit more synergy in the decision making, and all because somebody, it's like saying, oh, Berto, we're going to go with Gyökeres, and everyone's like, Mikel Arteta didn't get his way. How do you know? Again, it's not a case of Berto's got more information on Gyökeres, presents it to the club, and they go, okay, yeah. We'll go with that guy. It doesn't have to be so definitive as somebody won and somebody lost. That's not how I look at it. That's not how I look at it. It's not a war.
The way it's being framed is that Berta was particularly liking Gyökeres.
Yeah, he knows him more, right? He's had more experience of him, so he's able to back this guy more than Šeško, whereas the club have obviously got quite a wealth of information on Šeško because they've been actively watching him, and they think that's the horse that they want to back. So,
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because the last 2 or 3 days it's oscillated between Gyökeres and Šeško, and now we're getting what do we call it? Initial concrete links to Šeško. So we better bring Alonso in here. He's got the link. Yeah, he was here and then he left again. There you go. We'll see if he comes back in.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, BX said news and media. Here we go. He's here. The news and media are tightening the clamps on Mikel. People have had enough, as Stan said. There is a section, Tony. It does seem to be on the YouTube community, the internet community, which
But I think even them, for the most part, the people have been backing him. But you reach a point where you're 3 years in a row, you're stuck in second. You're 15 points worse off than you were last year. Arteta, what's Arteta improved at, Ray? I can't think of a single thing. Team management? No. Player management? No. It just he's stuck. He's stubborn, and I think that's his downfall. He's so stubborn. He refuses to get a plan B or C or D or Z.
Well, let's take a look at it. You and I, Tony, of all people, we'll know the history of this because you and I talked about Zinchenko, right? To be progressive or pragmatic. And it seemed like for many seasons we were being progressive. Zinchenko would play in that left back position, but and give us a lot going forward. He would create things going forward. He would invert into midfield, and our general play going forward was a lot better. We'd score more goals, and we transitioned on teams much faster.
That's why our old pal from Germany finally had a good season.
Granit Xhaka, right? Granit Xhaka. He's gone to Germany now. Has since won a league title. So, it is frustrating, as you said, and as Stan has said. We're still waiting for the success to hit Arsenal. And Arsenal haven't hit the success. It's almost like we're waiting for the success to hit Arsenal, So we went away from Zinchenko because we were conceding too many goals. Mikel Arteta now feels, and we've been going through this for the last 18 months probably, where he's changed the style of play to be more of a set piece. We've been accused of being, set piece FC. It's great when we score goals through set pieces, and we have scored probably the same amount of goals through open play as well. It just doesn't seem that way the way we play in the last 18 months. And the style of play has changed now from that open, progressive football to what looks like a more
But
stringent product.
but that's from injury, right? If Calafiori didn't get injured, it would look exactly the same because he goes forward not as well as Zinchenko. I really don't know why Arteta spent that much money on Calafiori because it's a waste so
Mhm.
far.
Um,
Unless you put him at center back, and he's a great center back. Seeing him on the pitch, he's not a good defender going forward or as they're coming at him from the side. So I don't think he's a workout for us.
I don't know if we're gonna achieve very much in terms of solutions, but we're talking about it tonight. Steven said, "I'll give Arteta a 2 for bringing back Arteta ball, not having a plan B, other than Raya booting it long in the last 8 games. Totally outmanaged too many times this season." Um, it's a tough one, Stan. Arteta's game management hasn't improved in 3 seasons, and there's no one behind him to push him to be better. This is a key comment here.
Very key. I'd say that, in that 40% of some of the things, that 60% of some of the things that annoy me about the manager, because I'm sort of about 60% rather than like, some of it's the in-game management. I mean, we should call ourselves like hamstring FC. It just seems a lot of our players are going through hamstrings like there's no tomorrow.
It was weird. It was weird hearing Henri bring that up because it's like I've been saying that forever now, and it's like, why are they? Is it what they're doing in training? Well, there has to be something that's going on. Why that?
So I've got a couple of theories about this. Right, it's not that we went with a thin squad this season. You still have 25 men in the squad. Every team has 25 men in the squad. What we did is we chose not to use about 10 of them. We chose not to incorporate that depth into our team.
I thought that was weird. Like on Jorginho, he didn't come in until like November.
What? All right, Gary, how you doing?
Hello there, Ray, Stan, Tony, everybody in the chat.
So I was just going to say, you're talking about a small squad. You mentioned having a small squad and 25 players and not wanting to use all of them.
Yeah.
You'll hear, after the transfer windows, Mikel Arteta say things like, "We have a small squad, but we like having a small squad." And then 3/4 of the way through the season, when there's like injuries and that, he'd be using it like, "But we've only got a small squad. We've only got a small squad," and I'm like, that's because of your own making, mate. So you told us that's what you want and that's what you prefer, and now you're shouting it out as if it's like a problem. And you've got a small squad, feel sorry for us. It's like, but it's either your preference or it's not. And his in-game management, why you need to play some players all the way for 80 minutes and then bring someone on for 5 minutes when the game's locked up and the player that's coming off is a player that we want to protect a little bit for other games. It's usually Saka,
for full season.
Usually Saka. But some of the in-game management and stuff like that, and the way that the substitutions and some of the rotation and some of the squads he picks for certain games when that there's another game coming up, things like that do, piss me off a little bit. But these, what do I know? I'm not a football manager. These are just my preferences as a fan. A podcaster that likes to look at it and talk about it, but there's some of the things that I'm like, oh God, what are you doing that for?
We'll go to Gary with this and get him introed into the podcast there. He joined us at a good point here, Gary. We're talking about the squad.
But before you do that, right, let's ask Gary the question that we kind of all started with, and that was, Gary, how did you, if you look back on the season, what were your thoughts of the season, and were there any, high points and any, really low points?
Yeah, it's I'll say it's a little bit of a learning. It's a bit of a learning curve for Arteta. At some point, dealing with injuries and red cards was going to be a problem, and depth, and not whether you have depth or not trusting your players. All those things were going to come to fruition, and they did. And he kind of failed in my eyes. So that's one thing. We had some good times in these games, right? I mean that first half against.
You
City
sound like you're
was-
talking about a girl that you're no longer going out with. There were some good times.
We had some
but,
good times.
but you had to go.
I'm looking for this. The season's over. I'm happy not to look back at it again because it was a lot of lost opportunities. I think not take. You always talk about not taking that risk. We didn't take any risks. Not enough risks for me, and we didn't get a chance to see. Sometimes you take a risk and it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But at least you tried. We didn't try. We had 4 opportunities to win a trophy, and we didn't take a risk in any of them.
It's like the question I said earlier, Gary. I said if someone had said to you at the beginning of the season, Gary, there'll be 4 teams from London that are going to walk away with silverware, but Arsenal won't be one of them. You'd be like, what? You'd be, hang on.
West Ham won again. That's what you'd say.
Yeah.
West Ham won.
That'd be easier than what we've had to go through, right? No, but I mean, like I said, we've been building up this in these phases people talk about, and we didn't take advantage of it once again. All right, I mean, coming second twice, you think, all right, we are good enough to win a trophy, and we don't know which one it is, right? So we're gonna have to try to win all of them, and then see which one falls out, right? We didn't take that risk. We didn't take that risk at all. We just played it safe, and you can't play it safe. You can't assume just because you go down 2 goals, you can't win the game. You can't assume if you go down a man that the game is lost. All right, and that's part mentality, part the game. The tactical things. Like I said, it for me it was a season of not taking the plunge, not taking the risk, and not giving your team a chance. And yeah, we saw when the players ignored the coaches, right? 2 free kicks were made, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's epitomizes the season right there. They didn't listen to the coach, right? And they went out there and did something that nobody expected. So, sometimes you're gonna have to just take what the game gives you and see if it plans out. We didn't do that. So yeah, lost opportunities, and we talk about whether or not this is how this is going to play out for the rest of the players. Are we going to have the same, same top, same support, in terms of players that are going to come back than we did the last time? We'll see. We're already thinking, we're already concerned that players might leave us, right? We'll see. We'll see which ones if that actually happens or not.
Like Saliba?
It's kind of weird because like 2 weeks ago they were talking about they're to be in talks with Saliba about extending this contract, and then today it's like the priorities getting Gabriel to re-sign, which he's happy to do.
And maybe the heat with Huijsen going to Real Madrid, maybe the heat of a Real Madrid hanging over Arsenal has gone away a little bit.
I'm just going to address. I was going to address the elephant in the room. Alonso, welcome at last.
Hey there, Alonso.
Hey, pal.
Alonso found his way in.
You got the link. Tony got you the link. You got the VIP.
It's supposed to come from you, right? But whatever.
It was an administration snafu, I believe they call it. But I'd like to hear as well, Alonso's same question to Alonso that Gary was pitched, about how you thought of the season overall, if there were any high points, low points. Glad to see the back of it. How you feeling?
There are some high points, obviously. Whenever you saw a guy like Miles Lewis-Skelly, coming through the ranks, I thought that was pretty special. And then him coming on England as well. I saw, Declan Rice rise to the occasion when Odegaard was not. So, there's a lot of things that weren't all negatives. I thought that, again, Timber covering for Ben White whenever Ben White was hurt was pretty cool. You see his worth even more. Like Stan, I remember you saying how you prefer Timber as a right back, and he never stops. So there's encouraging signs there. Partey play well. He wasn't as hurt as we're used to seeing him. And that's my positives. I'm sure we'll talk about the negatives, but
Here we go.
There's a lot of bright spots for me, at least. I know coming in second sucks again, but I really like Miles Lewis-Kelly. I mean, I'm sure he'll work on his antics as far as getting red cards and all that stuff. But I'm really, really high on this kid, and I'm very, very pleased with Neymar as well. So, I think the youngsters came through this year. We didn't expect that. At least I didn't. But yeah, I think there's a lot of depth finally at the center at the defensive positions. Something that we lacked throughout the years. So there's a lot of quality there. Because when Timber went out, Ben White still came along very well. So there's a lot of. I'm happy about that. I really am.
Steven, if you think we're going to go through a podcast without mentioning the Scumbag Six, you got another thing coming, and Sterling is going to be one of those six that we're going to mention.
Is that the worst loan we've ever done?
No, I think it might be worse than that, and that's how bad it's been in 5 years. There might have been worse loans in the 5 years under Arteta, Tony. So, rate that loan, I would say. You know what I mean?
It's like Denny Ceballos all over again.
Denis Suarez.
Yeah, Suarez. Okay. Hey, Gary, it's just so weird, right? I'll come back to you before I go back upstairs and around. Gary, it's so weird how you can look at this season and think it's like a relationship, right? A broken relationship again. Things were so good, and yet things were so bad this season. If you choose to look at the good, you'll be happy with some things. If you choose to look at the bad, you'd be in such despair.
Hang on, I was going to say, when Gary splits up, he doesn't say, most people go, it's not you, it's me. Gary's like that. It's not me, it's you.
And then he says, there's levels to this.
And there's levels to this, love, so jog on.
No, Lonzo had some good points that I neglected to bring up, which I definitely enjoyed. I mean, definitely the youngsters, Skelly and Nweri, and seeing Timber come back the way he did. All right, I mean, those are three high points in what the season was, and we're like, damn, that is great, right? Partey actually going through a whole season barely injured. I mean, those are four players that we didn't have last year. All right, so lots of good things that I missed because I guess I'm more disappointed because we didn't finish with a trophy, and I thought there's no way we can't because we've set ourselves up to do exactly that. But
But Gary, I know you said yesterday probably very loudly when I told you that they plan on extending Sambi Wakanda.
Yeah,
it's like, why are you guys doing this?
Yeah, I mean that's like rubbing salt in the it's in one breath it's like rubbing salt in the wound, but in another breath, you know what? I like to think that's Berta going, you know what? The days of paying somebody to leave us can't happen anymore. We're going to do this thing right. I mean, there are skill sets in the players that we brought in. We need to make sure that's what we sell, and not like we don't sell them because we don't want them anymore. We got to sell them for the skill sets that they have. I think that's we've been like undercutting ourselves because we don't play the player and not because their talents don't match with ours. All right, they all have talents. Whether you just got to tap it and make sure that's what's displayed, so you get your money back or some of it, anyways.
Yeah, you can't just let your players go for nothing. You got to get something, right? So even if it's just like a load of footballs.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Leverkusen got Xhaka for 12, 13 million and went undefeated. I mean, you're telling me he's not worth more than that? Come on,
he's
definitely worth more than that, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we did that because what? We're being nice? Nah. Hopefully Berta has brought a bit of a spine to the way we handle our business. right? We've been talking about a spine on the field for how long? We need to have a spine in the transfer business now.
Yeah.
Right. And, a lot of our players, I don't think there's one player that doesn't have a skill set, right? Whether or not we use it, that's the thing. We don't use it a lot of times. Like Zinchenko has a skill set. We never use it, right? He plays in the midfield. He'll probably be better off and be more marketable, but we don't play him there. Kiwior, center back. We play him as a center back. He looks good. Play him as a left back, not so good. Right?
Calafiori similar.
So we've got lots of players like that. You've got a Marquinhos, right? Sorry, not Marquinhos. You got a Marquinhos is gone now, but you've got a Tavares, right? You got to go on loan, and we're going to make more money off of him because he goes on a loan and he plays in a position that suits him, right?
I think there's an obligation to buy him as well with his loan.
Yeah. It's 8 million euros, Gary. We're not getting much for it.
Well, that's because of the bad business, right? That's because you got maybe a youngster handling your transfer business.
Who are we talking about, Tavares or Lokonga?
That would be Tavares.
Tavares. Okay.
Yeah.
Tavares.
Yeah, I thought he was tearing things up last season. Tony was reporting he was the best wing back.
Yeah.
Tony disappears.
He was leading the league at one point in assists, right? So
he was leading Europe in assists.
Tony drops the Tony bomb and then leaves, like an Orny bomb and then leaves. You know what I mean?
Doesn't he play for Lazio?
Yeah.
We're going to make a profit. I think we bought him for like 7. It's a small profit. We're going to sell him for like 8.
I think we have
1 million.
We have decent players.
We're getting 8 million euros for it.
Yeah, you know what? That's more than we got. Think about it. We got less than half of that for Pepe, right? And Pepe was worth 10 times or 7 times as much.
I think I've forgotten I'm usually pretty good with figures, but I've forgotten what happened with Pepe and how much we got for him.
Like 75 million. I think we sold him for 3 or something like that. So
that's criminal. That's criminal.
Yeah, but he was valued at 36 million.
But that's not what we got him for, so it don't matter. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he was valued at. It matters how much we actually paid.
And we got investigated for that deal.
That was a lifetime ago when Arsenal were dealing with murky agents that had to get paid off. Raul was in there.
I wonder how much money Raul made while he was in Arsenal.
I don't know, but there maybe.
I bet you it's greater than the value of all the players we sold during that time.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, Ben, but I think his watch costs more than my house. So.
Yeah. So listen, when we're talking about Arsenal season, we're looking back at this season. We can look at the positives. Stan talked about beating Real Madrid twice over 2 legs. We didn't fluke those wins. We beat 2 Real Madrid teams, and the rivals will come in and say that was the worst Real Madrid team ever, and they may well be, but that's a team.
How do they say that? I mean, look at the players. Because Kylian Mbappe is a rubbish player. Vinny Jr. He's really crap as well. Rodrigo, Jude Bellingham, he stinks up the place. Camavinga, I mean, they might not be playing in the formations or whatever, but the players are there.
Yeah,
it's the manager that sets them up, right? So I'm not having it. That it's not like we were playing their like under 18s for two games. We're playing their full proper squad with players that cost hundreds of millions of pounds.
Arteta doesn't have those players, and he's probably coaching his team the same way. The problem is quality's less, right? The quality's less. I mean, so now we've got better players.
So I remember in the morning of that quarterfinal, optimistic Ray, right? We could beat Real Madrid 4-0, I think, and there is a
defending champs as well.
There is a possibility we could beat Real Madrid 4-0. I didn't quite get 4-0, 3-0 in the first leg, and that was happy days. Two wonderful strikes from Declan Rice. He'll never have 2 free kicks like those 2 again, ever.
Unbelievable.
The first and Arguably the second one better than the first one. I don't know. We could argue here, all five of us. We could split 3-2 on which was the best goal of those two. Then Mikel Merino, not happy we didn't have a striker. Not happy we didn't go get somebody like Ollie Watkins that the club didn't invest in January. But Mikel Merino steps in and does a good job as a forward. Now, I've heard some people say Arsenal fans want Mikel Merino to stay in the number 9. No, not for me.
The problem is the reason why they say that is why.
Because
Arteta is a crazy maniac. He would actually do that. That's why. That's why they say that. They look at the body of work and go, that man would probably do that, right? So, and they're not. I don't think it's far fetched to say that. Somebody agrees with me. So
Tony agrees with you. He's sneezing back there. Yeah, well, listen, that's as good as it can be. That's as good as this Arsenal can be. They can beat Man City 5-1 at home. They can be beating Man City at the Etihad 2-1 in the 7th minute of injury time.
I mean, sometimes I look at it like, at the end of the day, my team at the moment is the second best in the country, in what's known as probably the best league going out of the 5 leagues. And they're also one of the top 4 teams in Europe. It's not bad.
No.
Not bad, is it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, you look at it like that, it's not terrible, right? Do you know what I mean?
The problem is now, Stan and everyone else, that there is tiers. There are levels now that have been created by UEFA and FIFA and the FA.
I'll just say as well, I mean, even though the Europa Conference, whatever it is, the lowest one, it's a shit one, he wants to be in that. The thing is, those Chelsea players that have won that, a lot of them are young. Some of them are maybe 1 or 2 seasons into their Chelsea career. They've managed to know what it takes now to navigate their way through a competition, to get to a semi-final, to put that away, to get to a final and win. They have that experience now, right? Whether it's a shittier cup or not, they still have to travel away from home, play in these foreign grounds that they don't play in regularly. And they managed to navigate that. And now they've got an edge. Our team, who've been together so well, yes, we're playing in the Champions League, but where's that winning? And the players that won the FA Cup, they're all gone. This team hasn't tasted what it's like to navigate through a competition or a league and win. And that worries me a little bit.
Yeah. What's irritating is that, Arsenal have strived to attain this level and a level of consistency where we don't want to be second 3 years in a row, but we're consistent enough to be there. And I really thought that we could. A really bad thing this season, we never won more than 3 games in a row in the league. We never put 4 wins together in the league. We'd win 2 or 3 games and draw or lose the game. Now we all have our ideas as to how that happened. Injuries, certainly. Maybe the refereeing situation, because you've had some instances where Arsenal have been administered, particularly earlier in the season, differently to other teams. And it's frustrating when you see Trossard get a yellow card at the Etihad for a second offence, right? And a red card. Declan Rice flicks the ball away against Brighton. There's some other red cards that are justified, but some of them are crazy. And we've seen probably 800 more instances where something similar has happened in the next 700 games in the Premier League, and no yellow or red cards for other players or rivals.
Sometimes you see the same thing happening in the same game. And you're like, hang on a minute, we got done for that, but they just done that and they're not. Or you see in the same week at another game, something happens, you're like. And when you see pundits, that are typically from teams that, they don't like Arsenal. Some pundits are sometimes overly critical. When you see those pundits, even they're going like, I've never seen someone get cautioned for this before. Then you know that it's not just Arsenal fans trying to like have something to cling on to. That it really is happening when people that have no dog in the race for Arsenal and usually don't like them are going, yeah, there seems to be something going on here with the refereeing decisions at Arsenal. I've heard it being said, right? So make it out what you will.
The level of punditry, and Gary Alonso jump in. The level of punditry here, it's like super fans. Jamie Carragher's a super fan for Liverpool. Gary Neville's a super fan for Manchester United, and they're very vocal. Those two. We'd want Ian Wright to be a little bit more fighting for us. He's definitely Arsenal, but
Thierry
Henry.
Thierry always says we. He never, when he's talking about a game, he always goes we. I like that talking. Doesn't go Arsenal. He always says we.
He's just saying yes.
Vieira,
Not that way.
Vieira also.
He wants to go to the bathroom.
We get a wee from Vieira and Henry.
No, but I mean,
he'll say things like we didn't do this enough. We need to be doing more of that. When we do this, it's always we. You know what I'm getting at? As in that's his club, and he's played for a number of clubs, but that's it's us that he holds dear. So. Sorry.
Just Stan, going back to Henry, do you agree with him that when he said we didn't compete for the title, that we didn't challenge Liverpool, we
never got close to them, did we? Really, we didn't really. There was no, we got in front than they did, and it was, there was a, clear air between us and them. They were miles ahead, so we never ever caught up. And as Ray just said, if we can't string more than 3 wins together, what do you expect?
Mm-hmm.
All those draws killed us.
Too many draws for various reasons. Some draws not the making of our own, but too many.
Liverpool were not untouchable this season. Liverpool were not untouchable.
They were gettable.
They were gettable, exactly. If we were good enough, we drew 14 games.
And we drew to them twice. Yeah. We should have never drawn to them twice. We should have beat them the first time at the least.
And
that that right there is that's those are 3 6 point 3 point games. Those are 3 points we lost there. So
yeah.
And we lost to the teams that were competing for it's Chelsea and Liverpool games. We should have won those ones. So we had our chances, and didn't do good. I mean, we didn't compete for the league. We didn't compete for the FA Cup, which is the norm right now. But we competed in the other ones in terms of how deep we got in them. So
FA Cup once again, exiting against Manchester United at home, a big team, but you're playing at the Emirates. It's not like you're playing at Old Trafford. The year before against Liverpool, we're not playing at Anfield, we're playing at the Emirates.
But that's 3 years in a row that we've exited the domestic cups before the end of January, which we had never done before.
Yeah. We
break records every year. This year is the first year in 100 years that not one player
got more than 10 goals.
Yeah. How is that? How is that?
It's been since 1928-29.
Too many hamstrings going.
That is definitely injuries.
But but I mean, we're looking at players all over the place that have like double-digit goals, and you're like, are you serious? We didn't have one,
Yeah.
So seriously, it's because we keep obviously the training or something are too many hamstrings going, and that's our problem. We're doing something to these players. Again, so many hamstrings. It's just unbelievable.
It's the game management, Stan. It's the game management again. You got Mikel Arteta. We got 25 men in the squad, but we don't use 10 of them enough. We use 15 of them.
We only had 23, which is even worse. We were too short to start, and then we don't use a lot of our bench. So
Gary, 2 weeks ago, who did you mention had 4,400 minutes? Somebody had like 4,400.
Saliba.
I think Saliba played most of the minutes in the
of Arsenal.
Yeah.
And this is the issue.
Saliba's got 44, and Declan Rice has got 41, and Partey's got 3,900, and Timber 3,600. I mean, we've got what is it, 9 players over 3,400 minutes, in all comps.
That's the situation with Mikel Arteta. We're not apologists here for Mikel Arteta. We're going to call out the good stuff and the bad stuff. I mean,
I just don't know why he feels the need to play him in the opening stages of the League Cup and FA Cup, and we still go out. It's like we start with 5 of them, then we sub 5 in. So there you have all your starters, maybe minus the goalkeeper, but not this season since Ray had to play every game.
Yeah, Liverpool had only 5 players over 3,400 minutes. I mean, we had almost double that. So, and that's that's the same thing that happened when when City was leading. City would have most minutes would be in the 3,000s, and we would have players well over that. So Arteta, he's not learning from sitting next to Pep. Pep doesn't run his players into the ground.
Yeah, it seems like when we were talking about that, Gary, it's like 3,200 minutes. Most of them would top out at.
And also, what happened to that special machine that we had? Remember that special sort of weird gizmo machine, the one that would tell Arsene Wenger when players were in the red? What happened to that? Did he take it with him? Did we sell it on eBay? Is it broken?
The doctor
missing. What happened to that machine?
It's a doctor who's supposed to tap the shoulder of Mikel Arteta and say.
Yeah, Arteta uses it to hang up his clothes. You can't see it. It just looks like a bunch of clothes hanging there. It just got clothes on. He thinks it's like a dryer. So he just dries his clothes on it. He
uses it as a footrest when he's sat in his easy chair.
Yeah, it's a serious problem that we can't take into next season. Mikel Arteta needs to open his circle of friends to 25 squad players, so he feels personally responsible for the ones that are sitting on the bench some of the time, and he gives them some minutes earlier in the season as well. Stephen here is saying, how is it that players are going down during mid-season breaks and international breaks when players should be recuperating? First thing,
because you're in a desert.
There's more football. There's more football through the year for me. There's going to be a international club competition in the summer.
But Ray, why do we go to a fucking desert of all places? Let's go to the middle of the Middle East and let's go.
Tony, you know the answer to that, right? Is that a rhetorical question?
That's where Kai got hurt.
Yeah.
Right at the start of February, we went there.
These things are done because they're financially attractive to players, clubs, and countries, right? Hammy's happening all over the place with new gen 80s, underplayed football minutes, 2 subs. Exactly. We have a Champions League. We have a Champions League format that's opened up with 2 more games in the season. I like the format,
but we're forgetting we got 5 subs now, not 3.
You have a longer league as well, right? Had more teams in the league, so there's more games this season. Remember, this would be a longer league. First division.
Yeah, Tony. So Mikel Arteta specifically needs to think about substitutes in the 60th minute, not the 70th and beyond. I know a lot of Premier League games are going 95, 99, 100 minutes, but you still 70 is not the new 60. You know what I mean?
The bulk of ours is between about 83rd and 86th minute.
Yeah.
You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
And that's why you have all these injuries. You play Saka for 70 minutes, then you say Waneri, go out there and because he's always full of that energy, so that's a good to have that injection, a change of more energy, but for some reason Arteta doesn't like to do that.
Yeah. Let me pose a question to
I mean there's games, Ray, where we've had the red cards where we've only used 2 subs. You got 10 guys or 9 guys running around.
You know why, Tony? because we had some injuries and there was some
That
academy kids.
True. We played City in what?
Academy
What?
kids on the bench.
Early, we played multiple times.
February.
We lost players due to red cards in two of the first 5 matches, I think.
Yep.
So we
Yeah,
didn't
it
have
was-
injuries then.
For certain race, I believe.
Well, when
Not
was the
significant
two?
injuries.
When were the 2 substitutes made that he's talking about? That Tony's talking about.
I don't know which game he's talking about. It might have been from like 10 years ago, maybe 30, because it is Tony.
They have
He
happened.
does have a lot of
I
trivia.
guarantee Ainsley Maitland-Niles was playing in that match whenever.
No.
Guaranteed.
Or Karen Gibbs, man. Or
Hey,
Karen
we're-
Karen
Gibbs.
Gibbs, yeah, there you go.
Chambers, man.
That was, I think he's talking about the Karen Gibbs. Who was it? Karen Gibbs and
Alonso's the chairman of the Kieran Gibbs
mistaken
fan
red
club.
card, right?
Yeah.
Matthew Flamini.
He's now on ESPN. He's now on ESPN, Alonso. While
Yeah.
Tony is the chairman of the Callum Chambers fan club. Where is Callum Chambers now, Tony?
I have no fucking idea.
He's tied up with duct tape in Tony's basement.
I've
else would he be?
made him. I've made him go back to those golden locks that he had when COVID hit.
All right. Arsenal were hit with a number of red cards this season, right? It did seem like it tailed off. The occurrence of Arsenal being hit by red cards tailed off toward the end of the season. We had a couple of issues recently. One in the FA Cup final where the goalkeeper should have been sent off, right, against City. Enabled Crystal Palace to go on and win the competition, win the FA Cup. Is it incompetence in general with the PGMOL?
Yes, Ray.
Was there a
it's-
slight tinge of we're going to stop Arsenal from being competitive in the Premier League?
VAR is inconsistent. The refs are inconsistent.
It's loyalty. They're not, and then that thought plays into their accountability thing. You don't want to punish your buddy, right? We've already heard a referee actually say that. Don't want to punish your buddies, so there's no accountability. So even if there was corruption and incompetence, it doesn't matter because there's no accountability. Nobody's losing their job today. Everybody keeps their job. Even if they punish them, they still keep a job. How is that?
Can we go back to the way it was when Stan and Ray were young and it was amateur referees out there? They did a proper job. And you didn't know all their names.
We know the names. Uriah Rennie. Come on, give me another name out there. David Ellery. Wasn't there an Ellery?
Why do the fact that you shouldn't have to know the names of the referees? That's why it's bad.
I also knew them because they actually took the job seriously and officiated fairly, in my opinion. Anyway,
it's like when the NBA gets to the playoffs. It's like, oh, I recognize that guy's face, but there's no way in the world I'm gonna know his name.
And I get what you're saying, Gary. If the referees do their job, they're just a guy wearing a different colored suit or shirt than the rest of the players on the pitch. And we don't know his name. We don't care what his name is because he's done the job efficiently, fairly.
And we see the difference when we get the European referees.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? But we have the Premier League referees in these European tournaments and cups performing totally differently than they do when they hit the English shores and they come aboard. You know, they manage the game totally different. Why is that? Yeah. So they can actually referee a game in a proper fashion. They don't.
Yeah.
Because they don't, because the reins are off. They can do whatever they want, and that's, for me, that's where the players and leagues need to put their foot down and say, we are the best players in the world playing together. We need to have everything the best around us. They don't want to do that. Why? I don't get it. If they went now and said you guys are all fired, you don't think they would be able to find referees to bring in from around the world?
They would be. Yeah.
We're going to be at this stage
So-
where when you watch football on your TV, it's going to be like the opening credits of Love Boat. You'll get the two teams will come up, the players and their positions, and then it will say, and this week's special guest star, and then you'll have like Michael Oliver will pop up with like in a circle. You know?
I got the jingle
That's
on
where
my
we're
head.
That's where we're heading.
I don't want it on my head, but I got the jingle on my head.
You guys
got
watch
your
too much
vision.
of that stuff. I don't know what you're talking about.
See your
Yeah, but you got
vision,
the box
Stan.
set. Come on, you got the box set.
I have no clue what music
really
you're
love
talking
Love
about. I haven't watched.
I
I haven't watched
I-
enough
I-
of that to know what you're talking about.
The only way you wouldn't
I-
see that is if you're on podcasts on 5 different continents in the world.
I don't have any clue what you're talking about.
I have a question.
Oh no.
No. No, you don't.
Do you think any of these Premier League referees have had one of their buddies, family members, somebody place bets for them?
Ooh. Very good question. Very good question. Yeah. I think allegedly we can discuss this one. Very possible, Tony. You know, I told you about the Liverpool game when we played them at the Emirates. We did not get one decision in the whole of that second half. The referee tilted the field toward our goal, and Liverpool were playing downhill the whole time. Listen,
I'll answer Tony's question like this. I don't know about placing bets and all of that, but if you're talking about do that the thing that the ears the corruption. If you're talking about that, I would just say that. Do you remember the guy that used to run football, Seth Blatter? Right at the fucking top, he was. He got done for some sort of corruption and stuff and got booted out. And that was the top guy. So if the top guy can do it, doesn't mean that any other department can't be on the take, right? I just look at it like that. And it's happened in other countries. Are we immune? What's so different about, at the end of the day, like, everyone's got a price, money. Some football players have done it and got caught. Do you know what I mean? So it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
very possible, Tony. Alonso, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I saw some questionable calls go against us in the Champions League. And of course, you've seen it here in the league as well, that we don't get the calls go our way. And it's happened far too often. There were some calls in the PSG match that were questionable that we could have gotten. For example, Saka getting that yellow card towards the end of the game, I believe it was, when a PSG guy went down and Saka barely touched him. And then there's another case where, I believe it was, the offsides call that was not offsides, right? And then the PSG guy brought him onsides. So, there's a lot of theories with that, but as far as betting and all that stuff, I'm sure it does happen. I mean, it's not known, but it's got to happen because the way that referees react to these calls that go our way, that doesn't make any sense from a fan point of view.
I think it's tough. Referees, they've got a tough job, right?
Look, David Coote showed us this season that they're not to be like thought of as fucking cardinals or Trappist monks. They're fallible. I was just saying that everybody is fallible, right? Judges, if there's been bent judges, there's been bent police, there's been bent lawyers. Why can't there be bent referees as well, right? There's been bent clergy. People, they're not infallible. There'll be some good ones and there'll be some rotten apples.
Don't mention David Coote to any Liverpool supporters. That's all I've got to say. It's a sore topic.
That's a sore topic for you, right?
Very sore. Excuse the pun.
Yes, excuse the pun, definitely. In that PSG game, the referee was horrible. I mean, he gave Saka a yellow card for doing nothing to the player, but Saka gets a goal based off of a challenge that everyone thought, it's going to come back. The referee's going to give a foul for the situation from the fullback that we scored off of. But these things happen, right? Tough. What have you got in your magic bag of tricks there? I'm afraid to actually ask. Okay. Man. Yeah, we're going for 3 hours today, judging on the size of that bag, Tony.
I buy for the week, all right? I buy for the week.
That's a week of bag. That's 1 week. That's one bag of crisps
That's
for the
3
week.
hour. The missus,
You know what?
missus
It doubles as a
not
sleeping
in there.
bag. The man sleeps in it, and he goes to bed. He's just like he's already. He doesn't even have to get out of bed to eat.
Yeah,
He's right in the bag.
hey, Gary, there's no meal being cooked tonight, Gary.
No, it's just a bag of crisps.
He's got
And you
this
know what?
bag
You're
of
sleeping on the. You're sleeping on a couch. There's your sleeping bag.
Right, yeah, the missus is going to be late tonight, so
Turn off the light. Turn off
I'm
the
eating
light
a
when
big
you
bag of
finish.
crisps.
We usually go to about midnight here on the East Coast, but you know
Yeah.
it's 9
What do you have for
o'clock.
dinner, Stan? A big bag of crisps and a Kit Kat.
and some
Oh,
Funyuns.
Lucasade.
Kit Kat was for dessert. Anyway.
What was the Funyuns for entree?
I just want to, yeah, listen, about a week ago, in the supermarket where I live, Safeway, they had Funyuns in. They get them in like once a year or something like that. I literally bought every single bag off the shelf. Seriously.
Yeah.
Stan's like looking around, making sure
Seriously.
nobody's coming to
Could be
get
Over
him.
over 2 days, I must have bought all of the Funyuns over 2 days.
August.
That's
August,
like
September, there's
Ray
nothing in
when
store.
that's like Ray when Walmart cut the Cheetos down to $3.33 a bag. Ray had like 5 shopping carts of cheddar jalapeno.
Yeah. So yeah, listen. If you're an
Cheetos.
Arsenal fan and you're thinking about red cards, it's not very good. It's not very good reading. A couple of justified ones, in there. A couple of really weird, strange ones, and then a couple of, well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, and that's the problem with football. A lot of the time, it can be subjective. The referees always seem to come down on the side of punishing Arsenal when it comes to that. But Gary, we're talking about the amount of okay, we lost 4 games this season in the league. Liverpool lost 4 games in the season in the league. Whether they could have pushed and gotten a couple of wins at the end of the season, it does seem like if you give Liverpool a guard of honor, they drop points in these last 3 or 4 games. But notwithstanding, Gary, I know it's been a sore point all through the season. 14 draws, and 9 of those draws we were actually leading in, and we had 1-0 draw. So basically, we could have picked up points if we were better defensively, or even if we just scored another goal somewhere.
Yep, that's been a problem. Eventually, we're going to have to expect our defense to be perfect, and that didn't happen this season. And we needed to improve on our attack, and that got, in my eyes, got worse. Right, so we didn't improve, there. So we didn't figure it out. We didn't even decide to give ourselves some answers in the winter window. We did nothing to help ourselves, and we got punished for it.
It's like last year we scored a record number of goals, 90, and this year which wasn't enough, still not clinical enough, and this year was just horrible.
When you let what 3 to 4 of your attacking players out go, and then you bring in, I guess you guys already mentioned his name already, but you bring in Sterling. I think if I recall, we let 20 to 30 goals out. 20 goals I think out the door when you add them all up.
Yeah,
and then we brought in that Sterling scored about 3 or 4 goals, and he probably cost the same amount as one of those players. So like bad transfer policy that was implemented. So
he didn't score a goal, right, Gary? I don't think Sterling scored at all this year.
No, I didn't.
Sterling might have got 1 goal.
No, Sterling, he scored. Oh, you're right. He scored 1 goal, had 5 assists.
Carling Cup and Carabao Cup.
Wow.
So all that money for 1 goal, and then we got 1 game out of our goalkeeper. So 2 loans got you 1 game, played, or one game played by one player, and then one goal for the other. Good job. Good job. There's no way. There's no way we should bring in a goalkeeper on loan at the beginning at the summer.
Yeah, we fumbled the last two transfer windows severely, badly. That's okay. Marino, we paid a decent amount of money for him, but he was at the end of the day, he's going to be probably a decent squad player, maybe not a starter, right? Mikel Marino.
We spent what 75 on Reno and Calafiori.
Yep.
Could have taken that 75 and bought a striker, and we would have not done anything. We would have been better off for it, and probably wouldn't have, and been okay. Wouldn't have missed them.
I like to, as everyone knows, I like to argue with Gary, but I can't argue with him on that one at all. That is a lockdown, safe argument right there. I kind of remember a single time in those 9 games where we looked like we were going to score again. We just played that excuse. Yeah, Alonso, I mean, we were leading in so many games, leading against Brighton, leading away to Manchester City, which was a horrible way to just concede. We could have had a win at the Etihad, and we were done out of that by the referee and right at the end. Leading at Chelsea, conceded. We were leading in so many games, Alonso. We conceded the equalizing goal.
Yeah, and it's one of those games that we drew. Arsenal drew to a loss as well, but I think those are more games that we gave up wins than we gave up when we were going to lose. So that's another discouraging sign that granted, no matter how no matter how hard we fought to get back in those games that we were losing, those ones that we're winning, I think hurts the most because those were points that we could have gained on Liverpool. And like you guys were saying, that the attack really hurt our play this year. I mean, you could say, well, Gabriel Jesus scored doing some goals. Havertz scored. Odegaard was not the same since he came out from an injury. So there's a lot of time things that were the greatest. Martinelli was inconsistent. Trossard came off the bench hoping for a goal. He did score goals, but when we needed it most, he just shanked them or whatever happened. And then Saka was hurt. So all those things combined with especially the failed loan from Sterling, it just wasn't meant to be, I guess, or at least it was. But then we had to use Moreno to score goals, which we felt he did a good job at, given the position and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just wish there were more out of the club. We needed a striker in January. We didn't get that. So that's going to hurt Miguel Arteta at the end of the day because we had a good team in January. We were up. We were going to catch Liverpool at that point. But then whenever you're used to having always change positions on players like Havertz and Marino now, then all of that doesn't matter because you're still in second. You're still lacking goals. That matters. So at the end of the day, it just sucks, because we were winning those games, and even games we should have won, like the Bournemouth and I believe it was Brighton as well, and then Manchester City the first game. So all those considered, we should have won those games, and I don't know, it's just kind of things.
But if we go back to the Champions League, you'll figure out why we're not that good, because we lack the clinical. They have a half a yard of space, the ball's straight into the back of the net.
He's right.
All theirs was half chances.
Yeah,
unless we get wide open.
That stands for very clinical.
Tony, take the 2 semifinals. Let's talk about the 2 semifinals in unison, because you could say we didn't take our opportunities in either of those 4 semifinal games.
You had Saka 6 feet away from a goal, kick 50 foot over the goal.
I mean, that was a very tough technique. I'm going to give Saka a break on this one.
Oh yeah, the dude was a dive on the ball. He's a
No, but
fast
Saka
keeper.
missed so many opportunities in the end of the season. So I'm not gonna. No.
Was he fully fit coming back?
Yeah.
Tough, right? And to lean, we always seem to lean on Bukayo Saka, and this summer has got
Well,
to
I
be
mean,
about,
he's your best player. You're supposed to lean on. That's like
right.
that's
But
like saying you always Liverpool always leans on Salah. Well, of course
I
they
know,
do
but
because he's their best.
yeah,
When your best player is on the pitch, he's got to act accordingly. That's what you expect from him, or else he's not helping you, right?
and what I was about to say as well, we need to give him some help up front. We need the likes of a Rodrigo, maybe on the left wing. We need the
I would
likes
also
of
go as far as to say,
Pesco.
as well as much as Bukayo Saka is a player that we want to kind of lean on. You know what I mean? Last season we couldn't dare lean on Martin Odegaard because he would just collapse like a house of cards. I mean, the dip in form, and I don't want to bash the guy because I really like Martin Odegaard, but his dip in form and the lack of reaction to do anything about it, like take him out of the frame, he could have played Wanyari much earlier when Odegaard was out.
Odegaard's
And
about.
he would rather have changed the system. We went 4-4-2, didn't we? He
Yeah.
changed the whole system. And he
What
was
a
only
system.
he was forced to play Waneri when he got to this stage where not only Odegaard was out, but then Saka went out. So he had to field him. And then that left me scratching my head more when I saw Waneri, thinking, well, he could have slotted into that Odegaard role. And then later on in the season, when Odegaard came back, and it got to a stage where it's like, well, it's been quite a lot of games now. And I've been saying for a long time that, the next one, it'd probably be the one. Hopefully he'll come back into form. And he's not. This needs to be addressed, and it wasn't addressed. It just was left to fester for basically the whole season.
Yeah, I think he carried the ankle injury through most of the season.
Which is
Yeah.
another dumb reason. It's like you have your best players all getting injured, so you're gonna play one of your players who's injured because what's the benefit of that? What is the benefit of that? You're not helping him out. He's not getting better.
We're helping the team.
I mean that Real Madrid, the two-legged affair, the worst player on the pitch for us was Erdogan. And you're thinking, you know what? Mentally, he'll come up. He'll be big. He'll be big in these games, right? Nope. He was basically the one you're like. If he didn't play, we wouldn't have noticed.
It was like playing with 10 players at times, Gary, wasn't it? In some games, there was a player missing.
Yeah, and that's on Arteta playing a player who's not fit.
Yeah,
right. And he's playing, as you said, Saka could have been not fit when he's shagging those shots and stuff like that. But that's on Arteta. Like, he's not learning. He's not learning that. Guess what? When a player can't play, if he can't perform, you pull him. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to have depth for a reason. You pull him.
I think it's because he listens and follows Arteta's instructions, which is to go back on defense.
He's not doing that good either. Everything they're not doing it good. That's why they need to get pulled, right?
From what we've seen, Martin Odegaard to be capable of doing, he was terrible last season.
He didn't have a good year, and you know what? That's gonna. You know what? One way you can stop that is maybe you sit him on the side and let him kind of get his mind right a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. But you just put him back out there. You know, I go back to that. Was that Days of Thunder? Cole did not want to be in that car. He blew the engine. Remember that?
Yeah.
He didn't want to be in that car. Erdegaard did not want to be on that pitch. He's not playing like it. All right.
Yeah.
We finally saw 2 shots from him in like the last 10 games. We were like, wow, that was great. We saw 1 goal from Zinchenko. We're like, that's what you got to do to go that. And barely ever sees Zinchenko again, you know?
Yeah. Odegaard came alive at Anfield for the Marino goal. Great shot with Alisson saving. Marino was able to get the rebound. And then right at the death, right, the 90th minute of our last game in the season at Southampton, Odegaard pops up with the winner. Kind of the trademark finish we've been thinking. we've been talking about this in the. We didn't have many podcasts lately, but one or two. I was like, where do you imagine Odegaard when he scores? That's where you imagine him at the top of the D, taking a left-footed shot into the corner of the net. The ex-gunner says there is a hell of a lot that seems to fall on Arteta. I don't think that's an inaccurate statement. There is a lot that falls on Arteta. And Gary, I acknowledge what you're saying. I think you're right. He still hasn't learned a lot of things. We're waiting for Mikel Arteta to learn. My hope now, first I'll say this, right? If I tell you a little bit like what Stan said with the 3 cups in London, right? If I tell you Arsenal had a season where the goalkeeper got the Golden Glove, the defense was the best defense in the league, Miles Lewis-Skelly, an academy player in one area, had breakout seasons. Declan Rice had the best return on his season at Arsenal as well. Thomas Partey played more than 24 games. You tell me, well, we would have won. Where's the trophies? Where's the medals? Because we should have won something, right? If I tell you all that, you're saying, sounds like we had a bloody good season, you know? But here we are, you know? So for me, I think we have to do what I've always said we have to do. We have to give Mikel Arteta the players that will set him apart from himself, will set him apart from the PGMOL, messing with our scorelines, if that is indeed the case. We have to give him the firepower to win games 3-1 and not be drawing 1-1. We have to, if we're leading 3-1 and a referee wants to give a dodgy decision, a red card or a penalty, we're safeguarded against that by a 2-goal cushion, you know? We have to be in a situation where we're a goal down with 10 minutes to go and we know we can turn it around like we used to with Arsene Wenger. There used to be games where you could watch and you can say, well, we're going to turn this around because we're playing well. And Arsene Wenger knows what he's doing, you know? And Stan, I'll go to you first, Stan. It has to be with a striker and a left wing option that's going to be as good, if not better, than Martinelli and Trossard. And 2 players who can be in a lineup alongside Saka. And yes, we'll lean on Saka, but these 2 players will weigh in with goals as well.
Well, I see that we're creeping into the transfer part of the podcast, and I do have quite a bit to say about the striker thing, you know. So, you know, if you guys want to go first, I'll just sit back because I've got a little bit to say. So just take your time, guys, and you know, Gary, Alonso, yourself, and Tony want to go.
Dive in. Who wants to go? Gary, Alonso.
Go ahead, Gary.
What are we talking about?
All right.
Strikers, basically.
We need better, Gary. We need some players who can.
You need better, but you know what? I'll tell you this.
Who do you want? Who do you not
want? We don't have 14
Okay.
draws next season.
Tell us about the striker situation, Gary.
Yeah. So I don't think a what is it, 13 to 15 goal a season striker is what we need. I like the idea of a 53 goal striker coming in to the squad. I don't know about you guys.
Okay. So I know where you're going with this.
I start with that one.
Is LA still alive?
There is a 53 goal scorer in a season available right now.
Yeah.
But supposedly we don't want to pay. I understand why they don't want to pay if the demands are that high for the salary, but it's disappointing that.
You're talking about Gyökeres.
Yeah.
You're talking about, okay.
Yeah. Supposedly he wants like 300K a week or something like that. So I don't know where that came from, but that's what the number is now.
Yeah.
So Šeško, who's worth 20-30 more on the market in terms of transfer fees, is a better option. So take which one you will. You either spend up top, on the transfer fees on a Šeško and get a better deal on the salary, or you get a good deal on the transfer and pay top money on the salary. I don't know. I'd rather spend on the salary just because I like the idea of getting somebody who can have his worst season in the last 3 seasons, but scored 20 goals in the league.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think there are enough strikers out there that are better than what we got. I think Shesko is the worst of them in terms of what we want right now, right? Like if you look at all the strikers out there, I mean, I think if you brought in Ollie Watkins, you bring in an Osherman, if you bring in a Gyökeres, those 3 right there for me would be legit starters for us.
Yeah.
Shesko right now is keeping Arteta's Kai as a striker dream alive. Right? Like so if this is the same thing that happened to Pepe, right? 75 mil, we expect him to come in there and start for us. If they spend 93 on Shesko and he can't start for us, what the hell are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? Potential is one thing, but it ain't that. It's not that.
Could it be a little bit like John Duran and Ollie Watkins this season? Could it be, a 60-40 Havertz Sesko situation, Gary?
No. You don't spend 93. You don't spend 150 on 2 players and you can't start both of them. That's what it would cost. That's the 150.
Yeah.
On 2 players, Havertz, and you're telling me we can't, and we can't, and you're telling me we can't start both of them. What?
Yeah. So
150 on 2 players and 1 sits on the bench.
Right.
The sun doesn't add up.
If Sesko comes in, he's got to start for you. But is that what you're saying?
You can't spend 93 on a player and then go, he's not ready to play for me yet.
Yeah. You
can spend 40 potentially on Ollie Watkins if you get the deal you want, 50 on Gyökeres, right? You can spend, what is it, a little bit, in the 60, I think, on Osman. All that will start for you. And push Kai to the bench, right? Yep. We don't want to do any of that. We're going to pay more money for a player that allows our 8, who failed at an 8, now be a 9 for us. Come on.
Welcome, Lolo. Welcome.
And we need a wing. Pick any of the wings. They're better than what we got.
All right. So here's the thing. Portuguese league, they're thinking, okay, even if he scores half of that, I'm happy.
If he scores 20 goals in a season for us, that's more than we're getting right now.
The Bundesliga is a more technical league. The thinking is he could come to the Premier League and score as much, if not more, through improving. We want to win now, though. I mean, right? We want to win next season, Gary, right?
Well, that's what Arteta, I think he even said that. But then if you spend that money on that player, and you can't, like Arteta has to get that player ready to start for us. He's got to hit the road running, hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I already feel like we're wasting money as it is.
If we do Sesko over Gyökeres, we definitely have to upgrade the left wing or right wing.
So you're going to spend another, so you're going to spend another 60, 70 on a player there?
Maybe another 50.
Or and when you add their salary, you might save money on the transfer, but you're going to pay top monies on the salary, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm with you, Gary.
I'd rather spend the 93 and get Rodrigo than spend the 93 and get Shesko.
Okay.
Right? Think about it. If you bought Rodrigo and said, what, we're not going to bring in a striker. All right, got it. But you're bringing in Shesko, and you're like, I still need to pay top monies for a winger. I don't. Right. The math, the logic doesn't work for me.
We're gathering talking points here to go back to Conway. The thing with this is we got 2 strikers that a certain.
Can I just say something about that fee?
Yeah.
Just because of what Gary mentioned. I think what's happening now with the 93 million that's being quoted, it's an old trick that a lot of content people like to put out about Arsenal. Like when it's an Arsenal deal and it's a big deal, they combine the transfer fee and they combine the salary. And you get this big figure. You get this bigger figure. When it's other players for other clubs, They don't do that. You just get the
So
60
is
million.
that
It's not 60 million, but if Arsenal it's 93 because they've added in the signing on fee, they've added in the weekly wage, and they've given you this big figure. And then the Arsenal fans go, "We're paying 93 million for him."
and it's still the release
It's-
clause, right? Because I was thinking earlier, but he has a release clause, right? Sesko. Now we have a situation. With all that being said, we have a situation where we have two strikers, and a certain percentage of the fan base will be like, if we get Sesko, well, we should have gotten
Well,
Gyökeres. I will watch Gyökeres and what he does wherever he goes, and vice versa. If we get Gyökeres, we'll watch
that
Sesko.
was 56 million, right? They're probably at agent fee and club bonuses and all
Yeah.
that's included,
Yeah.
not the salary. It's
So what are your
the-
thoughts, Tony? We're gathering thoughts here. Stan's asking the question: Sesko or Gyökeres, Tony?
After I watched him play in the Champions League, I'm going with Gyökeres. I just think he's a lot better player. He's up. He knows what to do. If you're going with the younger player, I don't see what Sesko is.
Sesko's birthday will be on Saturday. He'll be 22 years old. Gyökeres has just turned 27.
He'll be 27 when the season starts. He's not
Yeah.
there yet, I believe. So
So there's still a lot of years in both of their careers. You know what I mean? One, you would have to imagine through life experience and playing football, one is more seasoned than the
You'd
other.
have to say that in usually what they say in the age of a footballer, the 27 age is you're at your peak.
Yeah.
So if that's true, Gyökeres is at his peak at the moment.
He's played in the championship with Coventry, and a lot of people sneer at that. But Coventry were close to getting promoted that year through his goals. He's gone to Sporting and had a good old time scoring goals. You see the dynamism in his play. He's got energy, he's got speed, he's got physicality, and he knows where the net is as well.
And we're at a point where we need to win now. It should have been that way to start with. But It's like we always kick the can down the road and ready to retool and redo. But next year, it's two winter windows where you could have went and got players that might have helped you win the league. Because we did that. We let Newcastle have Bruno Gummy Bears for 36 million, and or 32 million. Sorry. Then we were flirting around for him with 90 million. Still rumored, kind of flirting with him now.
BX said they want Sesko because he play left wing and striker. So it's not not good. We want specialists in their position.
Well, I think also with Gyökeres, I think with Gyökeres, he is a winner in Portuguese league, right? And where Sesko is, RP Leipzig has kind of not been that great this year, so they're not in Champions League this year. So to me, it seems like if you bring a winner, no matter what league they're in, it's a good sign for Arsenal to have, because he's been there before, or he has what it takes to win a league, and that's what's kind of hurt Arsenal to get across that finish line. Is like, not only do we need a striker, but we need a proven winner that can help guide them, I guess, because Jesus and Zinchenko, those days are numbered right now. At least for me, they are. But Sesko, I think you're taking more of a risk because, again, RPS didn't have that great of a year this year. So, I think for him, the incentive for him to stay at RPS is to hopefully get them through next year to Champions League, or just get a better standing. So you're facing a dynamic also with who's better fitted for your team as well, moving forward. And I think I think Eucharist can bring out the best out of Udegaard and the wingers as well. Like Saka can get better as well with a proven striker.
I just
I think with Havertz and Moreno, they're makeshift striker, they're makeshifts in their forwards to where they can only bring you so much.
I just have a feeling as well, Alonso, that Jokers is better with the ball at his feet, but Sesko's more of an aerial threat as well.
I still think we're starting at the wrong place.
I think Icarus also can head the ball as well, with the amount of times we use crosses inside the box, right? So I think the way our style is that also set pieces, Icarus can also learn from that or get better at that as well. Because
Yeah.
you look at Moreno and Havertz's goals, they're mostly not inside the box rather. Whenever they're going up for corner kicks, I think also Icarus can get better at that as well.
Tiger and Gunner says Jokers has pedigree now, honing his skills in the Portuguese league. Potential and flexibility.
Right.
Not words that we want to hear. Potential and adaptability, right? Left wing and striker and a young player. Tony?
Right. If you're going to go shopping for very good jewelry for your wife, you're going to go to Tiffany's. And Tiffany's would be, you start in the Premier League because you know what you have. It's a known quantity. That's why you go to Tiffany's. That's why you buy your Rolex. That's why you buy your whatever sports car you really like.
Is Gyökeres the Tiffany in this situation?
I don't think so. I think you have to go shopping with Premier League, and their strikers.
Just put the stream. We're talking about Tiffany. Are we talking about? I think we're alone now. That Tiffany.
No, the jewelry. Tiffany jewelry.
Okay.
You want a known quantity that's good. Now, what is that jewelry in the Premier League? Tony, what is the jewelry in the Premier League you're talking about?
I think it's Isaac. You can go get Watkins still.
Yeah, I think Watkins could be a deal that we should do. Havertz is the problem in this.
He's not a problem. He's Oliver Giroud. Make him come off the bench.
Kai Havertz is the problem. Kai Havertz is probably stopping us from getting Ollie Watkins and Gyökeres or Sesko. Because we play 4-3-3, we're going to look at two strikers. Havertz will be one of the strikers in number 9.
We need a total of 4 attackers, though.
Right.
You can
maybe
go,
5.
You can go get a Rodrigo. You can go get a Nico Williams. You want to go older? Go get Rafinha. He can back.
He signed the contract. He signed his contract at Barcelona.
It doesn't matter. You see that all the time. You see,
money is no object.
What they usually do that for is so they can increase the buyout clause. But you can still go get a player if you signed a new contract.
Rafinha wants to stay at Barcelona, Tony. He's a captain. He's one of the captains there.
Yeah.
Well, Rice was a captain too, so that doesn't we can take that one off.
He didn't resign, Tony.
No, but if Rodri wants to leave, being a captain isn't a reason why he's going to stay. You know what I mean?
We're talking about Rafinha.
Rafinha is a captain in Barcelona?
One of the captains.
Yeah.
My money's on a left-footed left back as our top signing, as it can.
Yeah. I mean, everybody keeps saying we can't get all these attackers, but we've brought in how many goalkeepers and fullbacks? Right? How many fullbacks and goalkeepers have we brought in since Arteta's been here?
5
every year.
5, 1 for every year.
We have to bring in a goalkeeper once again. Another season.
Martin is coming back, Tony.
Should have just
That's
bought John
Stan.
Garcia last summer, and
I
we
don't
had
know.
to-
He's one of those jaded boyfriends, or it's a girlfriend too that just keeps on talking about Arsenal. It's like every time the media talks
Right.
to me, he
So,
still wants to talk
I
about
don't think
Arsenal.
I think Stan might have heard most of our comments about Sesko and Gyökeres. We have a perceived tug of war between Mikel Arteta and Andrea Berta. The media is going to spin something, right? It might not be even true. If Gyökeres was Berta's choice and Sesko was Arteta's choice, we have a difference of the two leagues, the German league and the Portuguese league. So we have to assess the strength of that league and how they can adapt at the different age groups that they're in.
Even though I prefer him,
Gary, seem like you want to jump in.
I was just gonna say talent ID is the key here. It's not necessarily the league. If our talent ID were better, we wouldn't be thinking like, "Oh, it's just the league. It plays on the weak lead." If the talent fits what you want, then it doesn't matter.
My
So-
worry is we were talking about Darwin Núñez 3 or 4 seasons ago, and he had one good season. I know Gyökeres might be different, right? And has had 2 good seasons in the Portuguese league. But Darwin Núñez did this for one season. He went to Liverpool. I doubt he scored more than 12 or 14 goals a season. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Name all the Portuguese players we've signed the last 4 or 5 years. It's 5 or 6, and none of them have worked out.
Okay.
So, but we're going to get the best one.
But were
the other ones the best Portuguese player?
Law of averages.
Or did they actually just play there? Because
yeah,
I think we're looking at the best player in the league.
But
Portuguese league. So, like for me, the odds are it'll be a little bit better than what we brought in.
I think he can translate to half of what his output is right now.
I think one thing you missed out on earlier,
24, 25 goals.
Is Arsenal's re-signing Sambi Lakanga.
That is a business decision.
Ronaldo and Fernandez are from the Portuguese league, so it can happen.
When I was talking to nobody's leaving Arsenal for free anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bert has at least established that so far. Whether or not Sesko is the one he wants to bring in or not, nobody just walks away for free.
Yeah.
Sambi has a talent he should be able to get. We should be able to get some monies for him, right? So far we've got 2 players leaving us, and they both are bringing in some sort of monies, all right?
Yeah.
Marquinhos, Tavares, both gone. Money's coming in, right? I mean, we weren't doing that before. Like when did you see any players getting sold before the window's open, going?
No.
We're getting money for these players. It's been a while. We did that, and some of that's what they did before Bertans got there. But the deal with Sambi sounds like another one where nope, nobody's walking away for free. We're making money on everybody. All right, so that's how you stay in business, right?
Yeah.
So no, I think hopefully Berta does more than he continues that, but also gets us some players we didn't think of getting. That's the other part to this, is whether or not they're listening to him. Does he have that power to bring in a player, an unknown one, that might surprise us?
We are speaking here with the information that we're getting through various sources, not always knowing what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, but that's been rumored for
Berta. It's been painted as Berta going for Gyökeres and Arteta leaning towards Sesko.
It's been painted that way.
I think we're also going for Alvarez as well.
It's been painted that way for 2 or 3 weeks, Ray. It's pretty well known that Berta wants Gyökeres. Which you go with what your sporting director goes with.
But it's also been said that Berta doesn't want to pay the salary for Gyökeres, and that's a deterrent as well. So depending on who you listen to, Berta is making the decision, one on the player, but also on the monetary
Yes.
restrictions that he wants to put on his team. Right?
And Gary, that's what he was saying about Rodrigo as well, that the overall package was going to be more expensive than what we're paying Kai Havertz now.
It doesn't matter. You're getting a better player.
Yeah.
If you're getting a better player, it's going to cost more. It's not our. It's not Kai. It's not our. It's the problem with the previous establishment. Why Kai is on such a high salary, but a better player should cost more.
That's a good point.
Not as much as So that's it's an easy one for me.
This is a good point.
Perhaps Kai Havertz has been overpaid.
Yeah.
Things like that, right?
They don't want to. They don't want to say that out loud, even though they know. It's true.
So I pitched this to Gary. We're not. I mean, could you have a John Duran and Ollie Watkins thing at Arsenal with Kai Havertz and Sesko?
No, because both players were good for Villa, and both players were playing in their position and actually got substantial minutes. Right?
Yeah.
Like Duran actually came in and provided goals when he came on because he got enough minutes to
The
actually
same
do that.
thing could happen on Arsenal.
It could happen, but you've never seen it from Arteta.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it until I see it, and I haven't seen it in 4 years.
Yeah.
That he'll bring in one of his attacking players and give him actually an amount of time to actually make a difference. You don't see it.
Tiger and Guna's got a good point here. Berta wouldn't go to Arsenal without first of being assured of having the power, maybe.
That would be silly to bring him in and then say, you know what, we're going to handcuff you.
Yeah.
That doesn't. Nah, you run your business into the ground that way because then he leaves after a year, and then where you are, what the director of football will come to you then? If Berta can't make it through a season, bad.
I remember whenever you had that guy that Arsenal had got from I think law firm. His name was Dick Garlic.
Dick Garlic. Yeah.
Dick still there.
Dan, you've been listening to us talk about Gyökeres and Sesko. You wanted to hear our side of it first, right? So what say you?
So before I begin, is there anything else that you want to say, Tony?
You know what? Stan, you know the answer to that. No.
Yeah, he doesn't know until he knows, Stan.
Just deal with it, all right? It just comes with the territory.
The brain isn't hooked up to the jaw.
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and when it comes to buying a striker, this is going to be like Mikel Arteta's second bite at the apple for that position. The first bite being Gabriel Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So some people feel that it kind of worked out. Some people feel that it didn't work out, but I think that he's probably not long for Arsenal. Probably in January, after he gets back in December, he might move on.
Yep.
So this is his second bite, and I think we all know who we want, really. We all want Isak. I think 99% of the Arsenal fan base, and even the manager, if they could, would go for Isak. But it seems that piece is definitely off the table. I don't think he's going to be leaving Newcastle. He had some sort of a gentleman's agreement about if they got into the Champions League, he wouldn't just dump them and jog on. And they've kept up their end of the bargain they're in. So why would he want to leave? He's been well looked after there. But for me, all of the names that have been mentioned other than Isak, and for me, if I was the one that I was the most excited about, which came up quite recently, but I don't think, obviously, from what we know now, it's not going to happen. But the one that was like, okay, yeah, that's the guy, and that was Julian Alvarez. If that was possible, and that could have been done, that would definitely be after Isak, probably my next choice. Mm-hmm. He plays in a sort of a false nine position, which would probably suit us if we're going to have wingers coming into the game, the way that we play. Yeah. And then after Julian Alvarez, for me, it would have been Victor Osimhen. I think, if you're talking about a player for today, and a lot of people say between, which are basically the last two choices, right? Gyökeres and Sesko. Gyökeres is a player for today, and Sesko is a player for tomorrow. I think that Victor Osimhen is definitely a player for today. He's done well in the Champions League. He's done well in Italy. He's doing well where he is now in Turkey. He knows where the back of the net is, but he's not even talked about. It's like he doesn't even exist. There's been no sniffs, no mentions. Nobody seems to be in for Victor Osimhen, so maybe the wider football world knows something that we don't, because there doesn't seem to be any interest in that guy for whatever reason. Which leaves us with the two that seem to be the two that have only been in the 2-horse race, and that's Viktor Gyökeres and Šeško. And for me, trying to look at them, listening to people that know more about football than I do, and listening to their opinions. When I look at Victor, for a while, I was like, let's go for the player for today, meaning Viktor Gyökeres. And I was just looking at the numbers. He's played X games, he scored X goals, he's done it for a couple of seasons. That's the guy. But then when I started to look into it more, I had some reservations. And my biggest reservation, I think, is that it's the league that he plays in. It's not even, we talk about the 5 big leagues in Europe. Portugal isn't one of them. And I think that the way that Viktor Gyökeres plays his game, he's able, and I've watched clips, he's able to get away with a lot of things that I don't think that he would get away with in this league. The way that he plays his game is that he seems to like to come in from the left in that Henry way that Henry used to like. And he seems to be able to run into a load of space by getting the ball, and there'll be one defender, and he'll be able to use his body to get past that defender. And I just don't think he's going to get that in the Premier League. He's not going to get that kind of space, and he's going to be coming up against defenders. I mean, we saw what he was like when he came up against ours, against Saliba and Gabriel Megalegs. They seemed to have him contained. He wasn't a threat. And I think that he's able to get away with things in the Portugal league that he's not going to get in the Premier League. And I look at players like Antony. And yes, there have been some successes from the Portuguese league, but there have been a lot of duds. I mean, look at the money that United paid for Antony. He was not able to really make any kind of an impression coming from the Dutch league, which again isn't in the top 5 European leagues. To come to United, couldn't do anything, and now he's gone to the Portuguese league, and he's tearing it up. He's probably able to get away with a lot more things in that league than he can here. He's tearing it up. Look at T-Bag. T-Bag came to us. He had something like 14 assists on the back of the season that he came to us. It was a high number, and he wasn't able to get himself a starting berth. He was brought in, as I imagine, to be kind of cover for Odegaard, maybe even Saka. And he wasn't able to get a place for any of those 2 spots, and he's doing all right again back in Portugal. So that's one of my biggest concerns is the league, and you can see that when he went from Coventry, and he had good numbers by the end of Coventry, but when he went to Portugal, there was a big jump in the number, a big jump, and I think that number would maybe decrease. Also, as well, what I've noticed with Viktor Gyökeres is that he hasn't got a good first touch. He's able to get into that second touch because he's got the space because of the league that he plays in, but his first touch isn't that good. And in the last 68 games that he's played, only one of the goals, he's only scored 1 goal by his head. And I think, again, the way that we play, we want someone that's going to be coming into the box and someone that hopefully will be able to get on the end of high balls coming in from Odegaard, Saka, or whoever's playing on the left wing. You want someone that's going to be able to head that in. And you've seen Marino do it. So it's the style of play that we like. He doesn't seem to score a lot with his head. So when I started looking at this, I thought to myself, oh shit, maybe what's the other guy like? So I started looking at Šeško. And again, Šeško, for me, he's got better technical ability than Viktor Gyökeres, but some of his decision making, from what I've seen and what people that know more about the game than I do say, is not that hot. But I do think that the faults that Šeško has are coachable. The talents that he has, he's got more technical ability, from what I can gather, to Gyökeres, but the faults that he has are coachable. But do I think that Šeško could come in and be the one that puts us over the line? Not necessarily. And from what I'm hearing by people that know more about me, they say that they don't think he's ready. So again, this means that we're going to could be coming in with a player, if it's going to be Šeško, that is more for that long game. And you know what it's like at Arsenal? Is he going to be afforded the opportunity to have a long game? Because if it doesn't kick off straight away, and we ain't seeing like fireworks coming out of his arse on day one, you know what the Arsenal social media were like. it will just be, I knew we should have got Gyökeres, you know, the guy's just going to get it straight away. I feel sorry for whoever actually gets the job, because if they don't hit the ground running, they're going to hide into nothing, whoever it is. So I'm a little bit torn for the reasons that I've said between the two players. Do you know what I mean? They say that Gyökeres is a player for today, but I think maybe his numbers won't be as high as they have been in Portugal.
I think
Sesko, on the other hand, seems like a more technical player. Will get into the box. He's good with his head and both feet, which is good attributes to have. But maybe some of the decision making and his positioning could be worked on. So it's a gamble. If I was going to put my money on it, though, if I had to say Stan, you got to pick one out of those two. I think I'd go for Sesko, from what I've seen and what I've heard. And I was a long time thinking it was Gyökeres just on the numbers. But I think looking beyond the numbers, the way he plays, some of the things that he doesn't do, which we need, I'm thinking maybe Sesko could be what Isak was when we passed on him. Do you know what I mean? We passed on Isak, and he went on to be like magnificent. And I'm hoping that we're getting a player like Sesko at that moment, where it comes to Arsenal, and you know, give it a season or so, he could be lighting it up, maybe even sooner, because there is definitely a good player in there.
Just turned 22, Sesko, or about to turn 22. We do all accept that Gyökeres' numbers in the Premier League would decrease, but they're still such a high number in the Portuguese league, and accepting the levels of defending in the Premier League as well. But that's the judgment that Arsenal have to make. The talent ID on Gyökeres, is it going to be enough where he can get 20 goals in the Premier League? We've seen that in the history of the Premier League in recent years. There's only a few of the top tier strikers that can get to 20 in the Premier League.
Look at Haaland, right? He was out for quite some time, and his team didn't win the league. They didn't finish second, but he still got, as a personal player, I think it was at least around 20 goals, right?
He had 19 when he was out, or 16 when he was out. So he was going crazy that first before he got the injury, as far as
and that's
goals.
What you need.
Yeah, but I mean, right now, you don't know if you're going to get that from Sesko, because he hasn't scored that many goals in the league he's in. It's a catch-22 either way you go. I don't know. I'd rather have a more mature player than a Sesko, who, you know, and also I just don't know how Arteta is going to. You know, we haven't seen Arteta bring in a player that's going to have this much risk, much importance on them in terms of they have to make it work.
But I think the one thing that might help Sesko is that he may not have to shoulder the burden, because I do think that Kai Havertz, if kept fit, can get you between 15 to 20 goals a season.
He's getting that now, and that's with nobody. So I can only assume we get another
that will help.
Yeah, but like that's the problem. We know what we're gonna get from Kai. We need somebody else to get us the more goals and be a
Arteta wants to put him back in the
need a striker.
Again.
That's like saying, you know what, Miles Lewis-Skelly plays really good at a left back, but he's a midfielder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, he just had
Gary.
good.
Also, as well, Sesko plays in that false nine, which I think he's telling. He's played in that similar way. I don't know if that's what we're looking for. If that's the way we play. I thought we were supposed to be looking for more of a pinpoint, but it seems to be that we're going for someone that plays in a false nine and comes deep again.
Tony,
I was saying Arteta wants Kai back in the midfield again. So.
Well, he's not going to play then.
Who's he pushing to the bench?
Unless
Zubimendi's coming in,
we have to
then you have to deal with Zubimendi and Partey. Rice is not sitting. Erdegaard, is he sitting?
Marino's there.
You've got 5 players right there. If you're thinking to push Kai back into midfield, that can start for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Murray can start for us. Skelly can start for us in midfield. I mean, we've got players that are better than what we have. Than Kai Havertz. I think I'll have Skelly in the midfield before Kai Havertz.
Zubimendi, Rice, Odegaard, Partey pushes Havertz into that 9.
And I agree with Gary, but what will happen is, I think in Mikel's head, Oh, look, that's win the dog. Win the dog's got the ump. But I agree with Gary, but the way that Mikel operates is because of the value of Havertz and the money that he gets paid, he will try to find a way to work him into the team. He won't use him off the bench. He will always try to put him into the team. And it's going to be interesting, right? Because if we're saying now that Rice is playing more as the left 8, which seems to be more of a favoured position other than a 6, and you're going to be sticking with Odegaard as the right 8, that only leaves one position, and that's for either, I would imagine, Partey or Zubimendi. So you've still got Winari, you've still got Skelly that can play there, Zinchenko can play there, not that he gets a lot of outings, but he can play there when needed. Marino. So
Marino is not a midfielder for us ever again.
But you know what I'm saying,
not,
though, right?
Like he's as good as a midfielder as
is he our third backup striker now?
He's better off as our third striker than he would be as a midfielder.
He's got the Eddie Nketiah role, poor guy.
Listen, in previous years we had Martinelli and Saka, who were our potent wingers, and I always thought that if we got 5 or 6 15-goal players, that would be 75 to 90 goals. But that really depended on all 5 or 6 of those players hitting 15 goals, and I think it only happened once when we got close to City last season. It's not a fail-safe idea, right? Because Martinelli dips, Saka dips, Odegaard's dipped, Havertz dips, and we're talking about this. None of these players have broke 10 goals this season. So, as Gary's been saying, I think we're all.
Hold on. To be fair, right? You know, Havertz can't get to 10 goals if he can't play. And if you're injured for periods of time, like some of those other players, it's difficult, right? And again, that's down to the management.
15, but 15.
Hamstrings or banjo strings.
15's the white line. You know what I mean?
I think Kai would have made that had he not got injured. I mean, you know, I'm doubtful that, for example, Gabriel Jesus may not have.
Well, now
because he's so hit and miss.
But Stan, in the Premier League, he was on 9 goals when he got injured in February. I believe it was February.
Who, Kai?
Yep.
Yeah. I think he would have made 15 easily.
Another six goals, maybe, right? Could have happened in the Premier League. But we need to safeguard ourselves by looking for a striker who's maybe going to get 20, close to 20. You know, and that's why
they say we like to spread our goals around. But if those people that are supposed to be chipping in their goals aren't, you still need a focal point. You still need that geezer.
Yeah,
you know, that Haaland, that Lewandowski, whoever it may be, that Aguero, that Henry.
We're not getting that player. It's Isak, and he's not available. So that's the problem. We have to get tier 2 strikers. That's all that's available.
Yeah.
The best strikers.
Gary, right? Would you have taken Osimhen? I'm interested to all of you guys actually. I mentioned Osimhen and Julian Alvarez. Would you have taken any one of those over Gyökeres and Sesko?
Yep.
Yeah. I think I would have taken Gyökeres over Alvarez.
Alvarez scored
really
double figures at City and coming off the bench.
Exactly.
If he starts for us, he'll get close. He'll get 20 goals if he starts for us.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna spend, I know it's 93. It's probably 93 euros, whereas Alvarez is probably 80 pounds or whatever it is. But I'd rather get Alvarez because you don't have to worry about is he accustomed to Premier League football. He's already done it,
right?
And he excelled at it. So you know
that's why I said we have to shop at Tiffany's.
Well, you got to be careful when we're reading the news from Fabrizio Romano or other accounts. 93 million is probably the whole package together.
Did they say here you go? Did he say here you go to Sesko?
No, he said you got concrete, which is like one away.
Yeah. So until he says here we go, I'm not like taking it serious.
Fabrizio Romano has about 12 different terms. They're all in tiers. And concrete's the foundation.
I don't know what. Yeah. That means that's at the beginning stages. I mean, the person that I get information for said we definitely have a striker.
When
We
they're
have a
putting the
striker.
roof on, that's when it's a done
Yeah.
deal.
We have a solid. We have a striker coming in no matter what. So
They're
all
laying the concrete
this
right
news,
now.
yeah, all this news could just be dribbles and dibs and dabs just to keep us hanging on by a
Keep us
thread.
talking.
Yeah, it might be already done. So it's
Keep us talking on the.
so
Didn't we talk about the Inter Milan fan circle as well? Hopefully they're doing well. Looking forward to a Champions League final as well.
Mm.
So striker talk. Do you want to move to Zubamendi real quick, Gary?
I hope it's worth it. I hope it's worth it. I mean,
51.
I hope it's worth. I mean, once again, Arteta's gonna outstage. He's gonna outstage his most important piece of the puzzle with a central defender. All right.
Can we go back to Kai
like Rice came in and Havertz we all wanted a striker. We got Havertz, but we got Rice. We want a striker once again, but all the word on the street is Zubamendi.
Yeah,
right?
but
We have a Partey, we have a Rice that can play that same position, right? Zubamendi is just like we're just piling on. It's just like another left back.
You saying we didn't need a midfielder?
Well, Jorginho's going. And we don't know about Partey, right? I mean, where does Zubamendi actually play? Is he stuck to one position, or is he like Rice can play 8 and 6?
I think he's more of a defensive mid, is my understanding.
I think he can play at 8 as well. Well, Mikel Arteta will make sure he can.
He's gonna have to. He's gonna have to. But,
left wing. You're playing on the left wing, Martin. He's like, what?
He's good.
It's what I see you. I had a dream last night.
Stan, he's good at going forward and he's good at passing. So
yeah,
there you
Martin,
go.
put the gloves on. You're like, what?
Apparently, he reminds Mikel of himself when he was a player.
Can I go back to Kai for 1 second, Ray?
No, you and this going back in time all the damn time.
No.
We don't know what the plan is.
Kai. Kai's still there.
I like to make my panel members welcome, and so you have that freedom, yes.
Oh, and I made it, yeah, and I got Lolo's right there. Anthony's in Spain, not Portugal. So you can shave off 5% of my argument.
5.
Lose me at 95.
Spanish league is better than the Portuguese league.
Shave a bit off. Yep. So you guys as well, right? What about a winger? There's a lot of names been mentioned.
You gotta let Tony speak.
Tony had something.
That's all right.
Tony wants us to go back in time. Come on, what is it?
I'm going
back to the future
Kai,
with Tony.
Which I'm going to go back in time. Arteta,
let's go, Marty.
Has his favorites. As I said when Lawrence was here, the little box of crayons. He likes my 8-pack.
He's going even further back than I thought. Dude, I thought you were just going to go back like 10 minutes. The man's I'm going to go back 10 months.
I'm going back to our former captain that he tried to pigeonhole as a striker, he was ready to turn in his resignation. Then Smith Rowe saved his deal. That's the guy that will put Kai Havertz out there because he likes him. We've seen it. It's happen again.
Whoever we bring in, right, it's got to work. It can't be a Nicolas Pepe. It can't be an Anthony. Do you know what I mean? It's got to work, and I feel sorry for whoever it is because they're going to be under so much scrutiny.
Yeah, that's where I was going with this next
online fans, everything they do, because there's going to be there's so many people that wanted this one, that one wanted that one. You're an idiot if you get that one. No, you're an idiot if you get that one. Right? It's been these two players, so you know what it's like. They're going to be waiting in the wings, and I just have to remind people that when Dennis Bergkamp came to the club, and the same for Thierry Henry as well, they didn't hit the ground running.
Okay.
That's the talent ID I'm talking about. It needs, and like if you watched our talent ID that we've seen, what players come in had a really iffy first year and then started looking great. Most of the time, in my eyes, we bring in a player, they hit the ground running, right? Jesus came in, bang, good, right?
But then what
I
happened?
think so.
Yeah, the injuries came in. The injuries came in that you can't prepare for injuries, right? But then Timber comes in, bang, running, Injury again. It's the only thing that derailed him. All right.
Calafiori, same
All
thing.
right. Calafiori. I don't know if Calafiori is a defensive player.
But Bangno, he's like a
Moreno came in. He's not a midfielder, but that's what we brought him in to do for us. Right?
I don't think Jesus has ever had over a 25 game, no matter where he's played at.
Yeah.
Well, we brought him in, and that's what we wanted him to play 30, 40 games for us a season, right?
And to be fair, even though we talk about having those bad windows, the players that we did bring in, they've saved our bacon a little bit.
I mean, like our defensive players?
Mika Mourinho. I mean, I was unsure about him when he came in, but by the end of it all, Giza saved our bacon playing as a striker.
For me, that's no different than Kai Havertz coming in. When Kai Havertz came in, the first thing I said was he'll get opportunities to score because that's what we're lacking. We put players in that position. He'll get opportunities to score. We just need somebody better. We keep just like pigeonholing people in and going, all right, you go ahead and make it work. We're like, no. How about you go get a player who actually plays that position, right? How about we do that? How about we try and bring in a player that actually can play the positions we want them to?
We all want that striker that's going to get the ball over, is going to be running, it's going to be him and the keeper, and he has a little cheeky chip into the back of it. That's what we're looking for. That's what
Havertz did that. Havertz did that against Brighton.
And you know how many times he didn't do that against everybody else.
A good point by Tiger and Guna as well. Kivio as well. Kivio.
Yeah.
I'd keep him.
But that's and that's why we shouldn't. He shouldn't be saving us. We should have already known he was that good.
All right,
so play that position, didn't he? He got played that position. Had bad games. Got cursed. Then when he found out that he was going to have a run of games, when you realise you're going to have a run of games, right? You realise it's like, okay, Gabriel's out. Even if I have a slight ricket, I'm going to get picked again because there is no one else. He got into his groove and he was very confident on the ball.
Yeah.
And I think if we can keep him, I would do that because the replacement might not be up to snuff. We know that he can do it, but if he wants to leave, and if he's thinking, well, I want to play every week, we're going to make money on him. So it's good for either way. For me, either way, we do well. But I'd rather
before we get out of here, we'll go through the players that we think are leaving and who should leave.
Stan, when he was bad, we were still not losing. We've only lost. Yeah. He started 22 times and we lost 2 games.
Yeah. No, we lost 4 games in the league. It's the draws that kill you. In this game, draws kill you, and next season draws will kill us.
Did you ever think going into this season, Ray, that we would tie Emery's 14 draws? No,
never thought it at all. We had enough. We had enough the season before the win games. We won 16 out of the last season. Paul Merson has said that Mikel Arteta will be under pressure. He's not in the top 2 through till Christmas. I personally believe that as well. That if he's outside of the top 2, the pressure will be on Mikel Arteta, especially in the light of this striker, whoever it's going to be coming in. It just has to work, It has to look right. It has to feel right, and the goals have to go in. If the goals don't go in, he's got to be involved in the assists.
I still think if you go up and down the Premier League, you can get your strikers, you can get your wingers.
Well, you're looking at Ollie Watkins or Mateta, and Mateta's a good player.
Delap.
Not anymore. He's gone.
Gone to Chelsea today.
Really?
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Yeah, they're going to get better.
Chelsea are building a team. Yeah. Chelsea are building a team.
And Delap had 12 goals this year, more than any player in Arsenal.
But was he injured? Was he out for a long period of injury?
I'm just saying, he had 12.
Yeah, but Kai Havertz can't score goals if he's not on the pitch.
No.
It's still, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Gary, you can't measure it like that.
Is Delap a little bit of a project for Chelsea?
Yep.
Yeah. But
it's a room in the changing room.
When have we had a project striker give us double-digit goals?
When have we had? We had one.
Who?
Bamiyang,
Good question.
No, a project striker.
Eddie.
Eddie Nketiah.
Did he hit double digits in the Premier League?
Did he get
No.
to 10?
No.
No, I don't know if there is one.
Stan, your chest just went right there, Stan. It's like
That was an Eddie Nketiah from another
I know
multi-universe.
that was
On another planet, another universe.
That was Earth 666 or something.
Eddie
no
Nketiah,
chest
yeah.
was there.
A
Yeah,
different.
he finished the season in 48. That one.
But
Semenyo,
Stan,
48
Stan,
what? 48 minutes.
Stan, when
Finished
you
the
were
season with 48 minutes on the
describing your
pitch.
striker, I just automatically thought of Eduardo. We need
Semenyo is a
somebody
good
like
shout.
him.
BX Gunner Semenyo is a good shout.
Eduardo.
There are players. Brian Mbembo, I was sweet on him last season, last August. If we would get him as a Saka, not necessarily a Saka stand-in, but Mbembo could play for Arsenal with Saka.
So who are you guys looking at for? Obviously, we're talking about a winger, and it seems to be the left side. Do you guys have any picks of who you would like us to spend the money on?
I like Semenyo. I like Rodrigo from Madrid, but it's going to be a lot of money. Well,
I like Lookman. I mean, there's more than enough. You just got to pick
Yeah.
one.
You still got Nico Williams out there as well. Rafinha.
there's a war chest of there's
But
200
the
million.
problem is though, we need at least two wingers because Trossard's going out the window.
Tony, you're that kid that comes
They're trying to
downstairs.
re-sign
Tony,
him right now, so we don't even
Tony's
know if that's
Tony's
true.
that kid that comes downstairs on Christmas morning and sees a shiny bicycle under the tree and goes, "Is that fucking it?"
I need more. Tony's like, I need more.
Martinelli is so good, Tony, as is Trossard.
But
So
you need a back. Who's the backup to Saka? We don't have one.
Martinelli.
Waneri.
No, he
He-
should be the backup to Erdegaard. He actually should
Yeah,
be
he can
competing with
he can-
Erdegaard, right?
Get two roles there.
Yeah.
Play neither one.
No, I don't
Oh.
want him. I want him to be a legitimate backup, like legit, like not
He
like
is.
we can spread him around.
This
That's-
is back.
That was the whole like.
That's what we're
You know what?
doing.
We got Ben White. Ben White is our backup to center back. No, he's our starting right back.
Right
He
back.
can't be a backup.
Waneri
person.
could have two, longer minutes because in some games he can come off the bench for Saka. In other games he should be able to go in for Odegaard. And he's young.
Or-
He's learning the
Don't
I
game.
just don't
forget,
trust
he
Arteta
should
to
be
give him
on the
legitimate
left.
minutes. That's
Martinelli
the
and
problem I have with all of
Trossard.
that.
There may
for
even be
me-
games where he comes on the left day with
Yeah.
Saka and Odegaard, right? It's
For
good
me,
possibility.
Arteta doesn't like those two together for some reason. He doesn't. You know what? Because you know what? They might actually try to shoot. He's got a thing against players that just like to kick the ball at the goal. Like you don't like it.
Martinelli and Trossard should be under pressure for their place as well. Both of them. I know I like Trossard. I know there are panelists here who like Martinelli, but the discussion.
I'll sell both of them. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah,
Wow.
Tony would as
Yeah.
well in a hot minute.
Gary's not playing,
Gary, would you go back in time when I said we should think about selling Martinelli?
But he was playing good then. Why would
Yeah,
you
look-
want to sell him when he's actually? So there's like I go by trends, and he was trending in the right direction. Right? He's not trending in the right direction anymore.
Yeah.
What was he trending in the right direction?
When he was
He
scoring
was
goals.
when he was scoring. When he scored 15 goals.
15.
Yeah, he was trending in the right direction.
Yes. When he had when he had finishes.
When Erdegaard got 15 goals, I was like, that's a good sign because he had almost double digit assists, and I was
But
like, all right, cool.
that was in a different formation. That's the
Oh,
problem.
the same formation, Tony.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. Everybody
is
will
it-
tell you that
is it-
22-23 season, the way we played and the way we play now, not the same.
It was a 4-2-1-3.
I'll say this:
gonna-
we still put the ball in positions for you to score. So
We
regardless of whatever
Odegaard
formation we're in, every player has still got opportunities to score. We just not, we're not clinical, right? And that's why
Yeah.
it doesn't look so good.
It
And I
was
think Arteta doesn't like the risk when we play that way. The risk averse kind of thing.
4-2-3-1 that we had success.
Dan, do you still
And
have
we moved away
crisps
from it.
in that bag?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a massive bag.
All right, good for another
It's
20
like,
minutes.
speaking of going back in time, my crisp
Good for
bag is
another
like,
20.
it's like the TARDIS. It's actually
Yeah, I
bigger on
know.
the inside. There's more crisps on the inside.
Uh,
But for me,
well,
with these two players, I would say that because we didn't pay a lot for Martinelli, right? 7 million, maybe less,
7.
somewhere like that. If somebody was going to come, as I say, to me, they're units of production. I try not to get attached. If someone came into this in the summer and offered us, say, like maybe 40, 45 million for Martinelli, I would consider it. Maybe go to 50 with add-ons, something like that, because the profit would be there. But the caveat is, if you're going to do that, then I want to see a player coming in to fill that spot who is better than the one that we just got rid of.
Yeah.
If no one comes in the summer with something like that for Martinelli, then I would rather sell Trossard, because that value for Martinelli is going to come in at some point. Get rid of Trossard. He's getting a little bit older. And you know what I mean? He's at that age where he can go after Saudi Arabia or MLS and get that last big bucks coming in. Everybody's happy.
And
So that's my outlook on that position. And on the names to bring in, I think Rodrigo. I think we should be, when we went out and bought Declan Rice, that was a shopping at Harrods kind of like, buy. We're now like looking to buy best in class and best in class only. So if we want to stick to that, I think for the players that are available for that position, Rodrigo for me is the best in class.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't get him, then maybe Rafael Leao. But I do think that for me, Nico Williams is quite low on the list. I'd rather have Anthony Gordon from Newcastle than Nico Williams. I think Nico Williams has been a bit of a flash in the pan, and the wages would be high. Yeah. Could be another Anthony. And I'm really, players like Anthony scare me when we make transfers. I don't want to have another Nicolas Pepe.
No.
Another player that, it doesn't work out and we can't move them on because their wages are through the roof.
I want to say generally the higher the price, the more secure you feel about the signing.
I rather had that. I rather had that
go wrong so many times.
Winger from
What's that, Lonzo?
I rather had a winger from Brentford, Brian.
And Bremo.
Yeah.
And Bremo from Brentford, yeah.
Yeah, but he plays on the right side though, so I don't.
Right, but Saka could go left, maybe.
Or so you're gonna take the best. You're gonna take the best right winger you got and move to the left. I mean, why don't you go get the best left winger you can? Why would you do that? That's like saying, you know what? You're the best goalkeeper I got, but I'm gonna bring in a better goalkeeper so you can play.
Telling me Saka wouldn't prosper on the left-hand side either?
Not as much
on the right.
Because he's left-footed. He's left-footed. He cuts in.
Yeah, not the way we play, right?
That's like Liverpool buying a winger and for the right wing and saying, "Oh, you would just move Mohamed Salah to the left, you'd be all right."
Yeah, you're not doing that. That's like, come on. That's like saying you're gonna switch it. Are you gonna switch your center backs just because for no reason at all?
I'll give you that. Okay, I'll give you that, Gary. You win this one.
We keep doing this. We keep catering to the person we bring in because we're like, you know what? They play better on that side, but they're not the best at it. But I'll take the person who's better and put them on the other side so they can play out of position. And then we go, why are they not playing as good?
And Mikel's a sucker for that. A player will go injured, and instead of just slotting in a player that plays in that position, he'll move two positions around to cater for the one player
goes out, and Moreno, our top scorer at the end of the season, has to get moved back.
Wait, how
are we supposed to score now? How are we supposed to score now? You just took our best attacker off and sent him back where he plays terribly. And then we're going to try to no, it's not going to work. Come on.
Steven said Martinelli did everything Arteta's asked of him the last 2 years. Scored 15 goals in one of them, adding width and lobbing crosses in and defending what he was asked to do. Yeah,
that's why we need even better than that, so he can overcome all the restrictions given to him. Think about it. Saka's doing the same thing, but Saka's a better player, and guess what? You get more output from it. All right. No right wing has to do the things Saka does. And guess what? They still can't perform at his level, most of them, right?
Yeah.
So we're holding Saka back, and he's still outperforming many of the right wings out there.
I'm also in Martinelli's defence, though, because Saka has the same problems, but was out and was spared it. we haven't really had a solid person playing through the middle for him to work with. He seemed to work well with Gabriel Jesus. The left 8 position has been switching a lot, and then behind him at left back, he's had this player, that player. Then now he's having to get used to Lewis Skelly. And I think one of the reasons that Mikel Arteta likes Martinelli, he does do a lot of good defensive stuff. I know that's not what you want him to do all of the time, but Mikel likes that. He appreciates that, whether you want him to get back or not.
But what's weird, Stan, you remember when we played the 5 or 6 games with the front 2, Martinelli went and he was both left midfielder, and he was terrible in that position. Terrible.
Yeah.
Last game he was playing through the middle quite a lot. I don't know if that's something that they're looking at. But if we're buying a striker, maybe not.
Is Mikel is under pressure next season if we don't get off to a good start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think even those who support Arteta and what we're doing with him would have to acknowledge that if we fall 3, 4, 5 points behind whoever's leading in October, it's going to be a difficult situation. I want to see what the pictures look like when they come out as well.
The second
It's not that cut and dry.
At the second and third international breaks, which will be October and November, you got to be looking at where we are on the table and
Dan, did you say it's not that cut and dry?
Yeah, I do, because
Right.
I always say that I understand that during the season, my football team that I support is not going to win every game. There will be games that they will lose, and there will be games that they draw. That's just the nature of the game. You know, we've never seen a team win every single game for the whole season. Even though we went invincible, we didn't win every game. So
Yeah.
I accept that. For me, it's those games that we lose and we draw. It's the manner of the loss. And even taking out refereeing decisions, which can be in there, for me, it's more about, you know, if they played like a shit, don't give a fuck attitude, walking around, players not doing their jobs, then I'm concerned. But if we lose or draw games, and I can see that my team done everything that they could to win, and they gave it their all, I can accept it. And I just hope that they can perhaps look back at that loss or draw and improve so that it doesn't happen that often. Do you know what I mean? That's not that cut and dry. By saying, oh, if you finish here, that's that. For me, it's, well, how did we get there? What happened?
But if you're 5 points behind the leaders at the end of October, that's concerning.
It depending on the circumstances, right? If that team that's ahead of you is just better than you, that's just life, man. You're not always going to be the best. There might be that somebody else. They're actually better at that job than you at this moment in time. But what I'm saying is, as long as I see that my team is fighting for it and giving their all, it makes me happy. Not happier, but when I get the loss or the draw, I can accept it because I can say, well, this team, they got beat by the better team on the day. My team gave everything. Instead of sitting there going, a sloppy mistake, we threw the ball in the back of the net. What was he doing over there? This mistake, that mistake, substitute. Do you know what I'm getting at? If I can, it's the manner of it. So it's not that cut and dry. So I will look at it at the time and go, yeah, if we are finishing or we are X amount of points behind and I'm looking at the journey, I'm going, we're not giving everything that we're capable of, we've got a problem.
I don't know.
But if a team is better than us and we're giving everything, you know, what more do you want? Just, you know, do you want magic? It's the way it is.
Yeah,
I try to be pragmatic. I try to be pragmatic about it. Do you know what I mean? But I do accept that over the course of 38 games, my team is not going to win every single one of them. They're just not.
No, I accept that too. But you know, if you've lost 2 games and drawn 3 out of the first 10, then you're going to be in.
That doesn't look good. But again, if they're giving everything, what more can I ask from the players? Do you see what I'm getting at? That's what I'm saying. But if we've got that score, and they've been playing like a bag of shit, that's unacceptable with the money that's being spent and where we're supposed to be going. But it remains to be seen because we're not in that situation yet, and I'll call it on what I see. If we finish second, for example, if we finish second again next season, I'm not going to be, well, he can't get us over the line, he's got to go. It might just be that, again, for that season, whoever finished first was better than us. and we gave everything. We fought for every point. Do you know what I mean? We went for every second ball. We tried everything, but we came second again.
You see,
You
for
know what I
me,
mean? There's an
yeah,
argument.
for me, at the start of the season, I was like, he's got to win a trophy this season. But the context was with the injuries.
But he caused
I
the
mean,
injuries, right?
Look how many.
Okay, yeah, he caused some of the injuries. I wouldn't say he caused all of the injuries. Some of them, you know what I mean?
So
Man
somebody
Man
is,
United
if
have had 5
almost all of
finals.
them
We've had
are.
none.
What's
get
that?
it. I said Man United have had about 5 finals since Mikel Arteta has been there.
Yeah,
We've not won all of them, but they've reached finals. We've not reached one.
I
am aware of that. We've not reached a final other than when we won the FA Cup. But since then, we've not reached a final in any competition.
Yeah,
I'm
and
aware of that.
we didn't take our chance against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup semi-final. We had numerous chances to take the leads in those games. Odegaard missing one, Martinelli, Trossard. I think there's more pressure will be applied to Mikel Arteta and the team, and of course I understand what you're saying. The performances, context is important, but results are going to be needed. I think honestly.
And I'm not giving them a get out of jail card. I'm saying that when things happen, I'll call it out at the time. But I can't just say now, oh yeah, if he finishes second next season, he's got to go. Because for me, there's more that I need to look at. That's just the way that my mind works. That's just me as an individual. I can't just call it black and white, which is why I'm never a hashtag Arteta in or hashtag Arteta out. I use my balance thing, the percentages. That's just me.
Here we are before the window opens. We'll know a little bit more in August when we know what the players that we have going forward.
But
for the season.
We better have players in before the end of this first window.
Yeah, there's 2 windows, right?
I think if you look at the history of with Arteta, he generally likes to try and get his players in for the pre-season. He doesn't like it if there's one coming in at the end. And I think that when players do come in at the end, that's not because of him. It's because the backing drag their feet. But most of the time, he does like to get everything done nice and early so they can bed in. So much into that bedding in, right? So I don't think whoever comes in for striker, I think it's going to be moving up from concrete to here we go quite soon.
Yes. And I think there's a week or so, the first window. Bizarrely, I think it closes for a week in the middle of June and then opens again.
Yeah, what's going on that week? Are they doing decorating?
There's like
I think it's 10 days. It's 10 days.
Is it the Club World Championship?
Yeah, it's 10 days. I think it's open for, and then it opens up for another 20 days or whatever.
Steven said Arteta held us back in so many games. It was pathetic. The players couldn't give their best because they aren't allowed to do what they do best. They're micromanaged to mediocrity.
There's the point I always bring up.
Yeah. All right.
And that's the difference, right? On the set pieces, you have Gabriel on the field making the decisions because he'll go talk to the players. He'll go back to the huddle.
They look to whatever signal is coming from the sideline, right?
No. He's looking at the way they're lined up. And then he'll decide.
All right. Tony, what moves are we making in the transfer window? We'll finish up in the next 10 or 15 minutes here.
What moves?
What moves are you making? Not the moves that Stan's making, the moves you're making.
Like I said, yeah.
Woman.
Woman.
Anyway, it's a football podcast. Woman.
What did she say to Tony last time? Can't remember.
Stop living in the past. Let those people out of your bunker. I don't know. Could be many things.
He's got to have a blonde down there, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, you have to get
show us your shotgun. Could have been many things.
You need at least two wingers.
Okay.
2 strikers. You need.
We're getting a midfielder.
All right. Who's leaving the club? That's probably easier to say. Who's leaving the club?
Trossard's leaving.
Tierney's definitely leaving, isn't it? I love the way he scored in his last game. That was pretty class.
Yeah, that was
cool.
ace, wasn't it? That was brilliant.
That's good, man.
Who didn't love that?
That's Roy of the Rovers.
Yeah.
But I think that's
Fucking
the bad
defender,
part.
for fuck's sake.
Most of the season,
Tony's got to criticize Kieran Tierney now, right? Go, Tony.
No, I'm saying most of the season you have Tierney available, and Arteta won't use him.
He played him.
Yes.
He came off the bench quite a lot, didn't he?
That's right,
He was coming off the bench and started quite a lot. And usually, all right,
read that. This is what
she said. Tony Sleeper was always going to play for us. Yeah, it has been said.
Wow, that was cold.
That was well done.
Tony gonna disappear now, or is he gonna go?
Let's go back in time.
Talk about going back in time. Tony, you want to go back to that time?
Debunking Tony Turner.
All right.
All right. So we need a goalkeeper, right?
It's hard to do, right?
Well, apparently we're spending 30 million on some goalkeeper. I mean, we paid 30 million for the first goalkeeper. Is that where we are?
Well,
backup
what
goalkeeper?
do we have? Nuno. What's his name?
No,
again?
it's some guy called Joan. What is he?
Garcia.
Setford.
Joan.
No, Setford is supposed to go out on loan. He's not ready yet.
Garcia.
Joan Sims. I don't know. I'm trying to think of
John Garcia.
Yeah, 30 million apparently. That's quite a lot of money for,
Setford done out on loan. Yeah. But Gary, we need to get a goalkeeper.
Yep.
I just told you, it's like he's a Joan.
What?
Maybe.
What money? What fee are we looking at? What would you think is reasonable, Gary?
Reasonable should be 15, in the teens, basically.
Yeah.
10 to 15. But, I think we should have got John Garcia last summer when we had the monies. And then maybe he would be good enough. We could sell him for more, or maybe he'd just be our number 2 until Ray's time is done. But yeah, no, we
don't forget Real Madrid's looking at Raya.
Yeah, lots of people looking at our goalkeeper or goalkeeper.
Why wouldn't they?
That are rumored for.
Why wouldn't they? Well, they should be looking at a lot of our players because we're doing really well. We're the second best team in England and the 4th best team in Europe. Why shouldn't people be looking at our players?
Emi Martinez.
Of it. When you get to that level, that's what happens, right?
Yeah. Emi Martinez has waved goodbye to the fans, so he's thinking he's moving from Villa.
So you're gonna want to sit behind Raya?
Barcelona, maybe.
He's gonna sit there too, right?
Chesney's the goalkeeper, right, in Barcelona?
Yeah. One of them, yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't have injuries. That's why he was there.
Not sure.
I thought they had injuries. That's why they brought him in.
I thought
Stegen.
Chesney retired.
All right, so we need a backup. We need a backup goalkeeper for about 15 to 20 million, right?
Yeah.
We all know we need a striker.
Every fucking window, a goalkeeper.
Jorginho's leaving.
Oh, don't he went straight past the defense? He just skipped straight past the defense, man.
We don't need any more defenders. Come on.
I think we might need one. For the reason for me, is that obviously, as I mentioned before, summertime with that, you can get Tomiyasu body parts on the dark web now. So I don't expect to see him back anytime soon.
I've got it on the
gone.
And it seems that, if we do keep Kivior, which I think would be nice, we know now that we have someone that can step in for mega legs and be very competent. Man got man of the match awards. About 3 or something like that in his appearances. That's not bad for someone who's coming in who was like, only a few months before that was like, shit, get him out of here. He's coming in and winning man of the match awards as a defender. Not as a striker, scoring or coming off the wing. That's not bad at all. So, is there anyone who covers for Saliba? The only two people I think that are viable are either, as Lonnie said, Ben White could be one. People like him at right back. Tommy Ashley, forget about him, man. What are you talking about?
Lichtsteiner.
Forget about it. He's not coming back. He's not coming back. You need to go. No one's paying a ransom to get him out. He's not coming back.
Bring Lichtsteiner out of retirement.
So the only two options are Timber. I think maybe we need one more.
Let's worry about that. Let's be like the last draw. Let's get more attackers.
Oh yeah,
please.
yeah.
Please.
That, of course, that is near the end of it. That is very near the end.
That's
of it.
like a Sterling. Like we brought somebody in there. Like
Jorginho's leaving. Right, Jorginho's leaving. Zubimendi's coming in.
Stan, what side do you prefer Timber on, the left or the right? I prefer him on the left.
I prefer Timber as a right back. That's just me.
Yeah, right back, but he's good at left as well. But
Scully's not going to move to the midfield, and Timber goes right. Yeah.
I think Timber and Ben White are two alternatives because what I like about Ben White, he's very good at getting up and putting crosses in as well. Their games are very different. Their games are very different. It's good to have that choice at right back. I think the right back for Arsenal is now down if you just think of Timber and Ben White playing games.
Yeah. Raheem Sterling's leaving. Right?
What do you want? Hooray! I mean,
God
willing. God
Yeah,
willing. You know what I mean?
like-
God
like-
willing.
when that
he
whistle
ever
blew,
arrive?
They didn't even bother telling him, you know what? Don't worry about going back to London,
The
Colney. Don't worry
Uber's
about
waiting right
going to-
outside now.
everything. Everything was in a box.
He got into that Uber in his kit and the boots and his boots. He didn't even change or shower. Just straight off the pitch into the Uber, gone.
Oh
Back to
my
Chelsea.
God. Yeah. Raheem's gone.
right.
Gary,
All right.
Terrible.
are you checking out the same
Yeah, I
time
gotta
as Raheem
go. Yeah,
Sterling?
thanks for having me, Ray, Stan,
Cheers,
Tony,
Gary.
Alonzo, everybody in the chat. Have a good night.
Thanks for
You
being
too,
here,
man.
Gary. It was
Say
fun.
Gary.
Gary has to
Say
go to bed, drink some coconut water, then jump on the bike.
That's the plan. We'll see if it works because it's been a
What's
long
the
night.
name of the bike again, Tony? Again?
I'm going on
Mine's
that
called
note.
Shannon.
I
That's
don't want to
another-
hear
Mine's
it.
called Shannon, but that's another story.
No. Bye bye.
Cheers, Gary.
Gary's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Okay, so Raheem Sterling's gone. Okay, we're not going to renew. We're not going to keep him.
Yeah.
Loan. No obligation, right? Okay, so the goalkeeper's going. Jorginho's going. Raheem Sterling's going.
I also Thomas Partey's not a
Just
definite,
sorry.
right? I mean, I don't know what your feelings are on Partey. We got a good season out of him last season,
Yeah.
but before that, let's pretend that before that had never happened. Like, let's not pretend this is his first season. He has been very unreliable.
This has been his best season.
Yeah, he's been very unreliable, right? And we know why is it people always play good when the contracts are coming up? We've seen this at Arsenal so many times, man.
Yes.
And then they get the contract and they literally jump off the other side of the cliff. They nosedive off on purpose. They put on a dressing gown, the fluffy slippers, and they're sat on that lounger around the spa.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I appreciate what he's done this season. I do. But once bitten, twice shy. If we can get money for him this season, and again, it's always on that caveat. It's on that caveat that he's replaced. Not we sell him, and as a whole, because if Jorginho is going and Partey goes, and we've got Zubimendi coming in, to me that's bad math. That's two go out, one comes in. That's a little bit like when I've seen it before. Lacazette and Aubameyang, two go out, one comes in. Gabriel Jesus. There's always like, what's going on?
That's why we're so
both
short
go.
on numbers, Stan.
However, there's always that caveat that, you know, we've got two young midfielders that could get more minutes in Skelly, who's more of a defensive midfielder, I believe, coming up, Ranieri. And then there's another youngster that could start to feature off the bench, coming along on journeys, and that's this Dalman that everyone's talking about, right? Max Dalman is supposed to be the next cab off the rank. So maybe in midfield, even if Partey and Jorginho go,
But he's young.
and only Zubimendi is coming in, maybe we're covered.
But
Maybe
he's
we're
young.
covered. Yeah, but
Like 16.
you know, but what I'm saying is,
Fifteen.
if there's a couple of injuries and he gets thrown into it, like it's happened to Skelly, it's happened to Ranieri, they get their chance and they make a go of it. You start forcing a case. So maybe he could do that again, right? The other two did it. he seems to be the next cab off the rank, meaning that you're going to start seeing him on the bench. Might not be used for ages, but when someone, if there's injuries, and we know, it's not like we don't get injuries. It's not like, hamstrings aren't going to go. He could get the nod. He could get the nod to come in.
What's next after Partey? I got Zinchenko and Jesus.
Yeah, I think their time is done in the same way that people say we've moved on from Kieran Tierney in the way that we play. I think it's kind of the same for those two as well.
Zinchenko and Jesus. No, Jesus may go in December.
And
in all reality, right? Because he's not going to come back until about December from the ruptured Achilles, I think it is. He's got. That's a long-term injury. Zinchenko. Kieran Tierney, you got to say, I know we said a word about Kieran Tierney, but what a great character to have at the club. Unfortunately,
he just comes across as a likable guy. It's a pity about the injuries. A bit like Thomas Rosicky or Diaby. You know that there's a lot more that you could have offered. I mean, there were times when he came in that people were saying this guy should be the captain. He was talking about being captain when he first came in, right? That's how much people thought of him.
Yep.
And for him to score on his last game for the club, as a defender as well, you're not expected to score much. And
it just felt like he was playing
and you saw the way he celebrated, and you saw the way that the rest of his teammates and the fans felt about him. Great ending to the story. A shame we couldn't have got more games out of him.
Yeah, injury was his nemesis. He was a guy who just took his lunch pail to work each and every day, got on with it. We all probably know a guy like that at work who just gets on with it.
You're forgetting his shopping bag, Ray, that he put his gear in. Shopping bag.
The Tesco shopping bag. I was just setting you up for that, Tony. You know what I mean? Playing in the snow with short sleeves, right? Just built differently.
He did that in training when it was snowing. He was in short sleeves the entire time. Yeah, there's 3-4 hours in this stay in short sleeves.
Yeah, Alonso, no snood for whatever the hell you call them. No snoods for Tierney.
Yeah. He was a good player for us when he's healthy. And for him to come back and being that limited role that he was in, he done well for himself, I think, and kind of shows you how much loved he is by how loved he is by his teammates. I saw him, hug Ben White, and not once but twice, and also that Real Sociedad little friendships they had with him and Marino. It kind of showed how their teammates there, I think, last year. So it kind of, it's he was liked by his teammates and the gaffer as well. That you didn't want to know how much he was loved by us fans as well. I liked him a lot. He could have been more healthier as far as injuries go, but like Stan was saying, he could have been captain material. Had he been healthy, but I think Arteta, stuck by him, even throughout the loans and the injuries and all that. So, it's a credit to Arteta as well, how he doesn't give up on a player who's hurt. So, yeah, I'll miss Tierney. I wish him the best at Celtic. Yep. He's going to a familiar place as well. So, yeah,
he's going to a better place. It's not dead.
In Celtic. We've gone from the analogies of dating. There was some good times. There was some bad times too. He's gone to a better place. Tierney was another huge Arteta mistake. So
I meant to say familiar place.
Yeah. Up at Celtic, he'll do well up at Celtic again. You're gonna feel this way about being an Arteta mistake until we actually win some silverware again under Mikel Arteta. You're gonna feel that way. Kieran Tierney
But-
was part of the FA Cup team that won the FA Cup in 2020 as well.
right.
So
Yeah,
he does leave with a medal or two in his back pocket.
he's
when-
the last one from that era, then, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
From that era, that's
Yeah.
it. He was the last one.
And whether you want to rank community shields or charity shields as actual medals, he probably got a couple of those as well.
Is he definitely going back to Celtic?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And what's the fee?
Free?
nothing. His contract was over.
Is
Yeah.
it a free?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we didn't even get a bag of footballs.
No.
Yeah.
I think we did. The club did right by him in that respect. So he can go back, play some more football, probably
Do-
win a
do-
few more
do you think
trophies
he-
up there.
Do you think he wishes he just stayed at Celtic?
What?
So do you think he thinks he should have just stayed at Celtic? Since his,
You think he should have stayed at Celtic? Is that what you're saying?
no, does he think he should have just stayed at Celtic?
No, you have to go and as a footballer, you have to go and try your hand in a better league and prove to yourself that you can play.
Champions League games. He went and played in Spain for a while. You know, he's gone
Higher
out
level.
and seen the world, and he's
Yeah.
done well for himself. He's still playing
Yeah.
at international level. But you know, what I would have done. You know, like someone's leaving, you have a whip round, and you have to go out and buy him a little gift. Do you know, what I would have got him. I would have got him like a Versace travel bag, and say, look, I know you like your carrier bag, but we all club together. We've got this designer Versace travel bag for really like traveling away from home.
Yeah, Steiger and Gooden said players wearing gloves, but Tierney didn't wear any of them. He didn't wear a snood. It was the short shorts and
Shirt
short
tucked in.
arms.
All very smart, shirts tucked in. Even on FIFA, when you play on FIFA,
Very smart.
he's got
yeah.
his shirt tucked in on the shorts and everything. You can spot him on the pitch.
Red John, do you think Tierney was a flop because of the injuries, or do you think he was a flop at Arsenal? Because I think he served Arsenal well, personally, when he was fit and able to line out. And I don't think that he ever shirked his responsibilities whilst wearing the Arsenal shirt.
And even coming back in at the end of this season, and he's had quite a few appearances.
Yeah.
He's looked good.
Mhm.
He had one goal disallowed. He's had
Yeah.
some good shots. He's put some balls into the. He might not be that inverted thing that everybody likes or whatever. But
Raves
for what he
about.
does, he's a
Yeah.
good footballer, man. It's just a pity that, as I mentioned earlier, the consistency after injuries. Even when he went out on loan, he got injured, right? He's just been
Yeah.
very unfortunate with his injuries.
If you're comparing him to Timber, I mean, it's hard to compare them. One season surpassed Tierney's 6 years at Arsenal.
No.
And
No.
the thing with
No.
him, he got that
No, I'm not
bad
buying that.
groin.
I think
He,
if you lined up Tierney for the full season at left back and Timber for a full season at right back, you get pretty similar results and consistency from both of them.
because they're defenders, right?
Yeah, because they're defenders. I think that you're being a little bit harsh, Red John, on Kieran Tierney.
I do as well.
Being
Mhm.
a little bit harsh.
He's solid. He's a solid player.
I think
Not a
he,
flop.
yeah. I think he would have defended just as well as probably.
I actually think he's better than Robertson at Liverpool.
Yep.
Personally.
Listen. Some players are blighted by injury, and he's one of them. I think
And he's one of those that we bought when he was injured. He tore his groin.
It's hard. It's hard to quantify fullbacks.
But they
Yeah.
play a very different style.
They can't touch.
You're not
the levels.
you're not equating apples with apples, oranges with oranges. They play a very different style. Kieran
And-
Tierney is a traditional left back. He's more he puts a lot into the defending side of the game, and he likes to get up the wing, get on the overlap, and put in
I
a
think
cross. That's his
Timber
game.
does the same thing on the other side. I think.
Timber is very similar to Calafiori, where they pop up in the middle of the park. They pop up in the middle or on the edge of the box in the attack. You don't see them running up. The only other defender that we have that does that, coming up and crossing the ball in a lot, is Ben White. It's just a different style of play. And that's why it's so good to have Ben White and Timber as your right back choices going forward, because their styles of play are so different. It will be good for different kinds of situations. You've got one in Ben White is going to overlap on Saka and cross the ball in, and you've got Timber who'll come into the middle and have another supply line and will take shots from the centre as well. So it's good. It's variety, and variety is good.
If Tierney was so good, why is he being let go for free in his prime? He's a good servant to Arsenal for one.
He's not reliable.
Injuries.
He's not reliable. When it's time to pick your team sheet, you can't rely on Tierney being there as good as I think he is because of the injuries. He's not reliable, and that's no good to anybody.
Yeah. Robertson won the first Premier League with Liverpool. A left back. I mean, I don't want to diminish the left, but the importance of a left back. But come on, you're playing left back and right back.
I don't know. Red John says availability is what makes you world class, but you can have serious injuries. Look at Marco van Basten. His career was cut short because of an injury. You see what I'm getting? That's what I'm trying to say, right? Yeah. Thomas Rosicky, Diaby, great players, but they just weren't available enough. And that doesn't have to do anything to do with their ability. It's to do with, Tommy Asu. I think Tommy Asu is a really good player, and in a number of positions. In fact, Tommy Asu is probably the best defender that we have.
Yeah.
Who can play in all four positions.
Yeah.
Do you not get that? On average of the four positions,
he's our best man marker,
but he's not available.
He marked Salah. He played left back a few seasons back. Salah got nothing out of him.
Not available.
Not available. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, Arteta preferred Tommy Asu over Tierney. They play different sides of the field, though. So, Red John, we're talking about right-sided and left-sided. Marco van Basten already did enough by the time his career was cut short.
Agreed. I was answering your question. It says that you said availability is what makes you world class, and sometimes there have been some players that look at Paul Gascoigne. Look at the injuries that he had, kept him out of the game for ages before he went to Italy.
Yeah,
but still world class.
Look at Eduardo. He was world class, and
if Messi dropped Buckasides and never played a football game again, not a single person on the planet would debate if he was world class.
I know you've answered your own question. You're the one that said that it's a lack of, it's the availability that makes you world class. And as you're just saying, if Messi was no longer available, that we wouldn't debate it. So I agree. Availability is what I'm saying, right?
You mentioned Thomas Rosicky, so we hope that he's recovering from a heart issue.
Didn't know that.
He had earlier. Yeah, he was admitted to hospital a week ago. Had some heart issues. It was checked out.
Ray keeps up with his lookalike.
You're Can you hear him, Alonso?
No, man.
You're coming in quite blurry now on your audio. You know what I mean? Well, listen, we're gonna wind things up here. It's 3 hours. We've broken the 3-hour mark.
It's in my contract.
Yeah, per your contract. Enjoyed catching up tonight with everybody. Gotta listen. The women's football team have won the Champions League as well, so it's an amazing achievement.
Can we talk about their avatar? It has the 2 stars above it.
Sure. On your outro, you can. But yeah, listen, win the Champions League has been probably the bright light in Arsenal's season. And we need the men now to step forward next season. Stan, what have you got?
I just want to ask Red John, because he's asking me a few things. What you actually said, Red John, is you said, if you scroll back, you said availability is what makes you world class. You didn't say it's one of the things or a part of it. You just said, I'm looking at it now, availability is what makes you world class. And I'm just saying to you that's not the case, because sometimes players can get injured or get cut short. But yeah, if you're now saying that it's one of the things that helps, of course. And that's what I'm saying. If the players can't be available, which is what I said about Thomas Partey, as much as he had a good season, I'm wary that he's not going to be available for us. So that's why I'd like to sell him. And it's the same with Kieran Tierney. I like him as a player, but I just felt that his availability let him down. Aaron Ramsey was a little bit like that as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. I mean, it's one of the things. If you're not going to be able to obviously demonstrate you're a world-class player unless you're on the field showing it. Alonso, what have you got?
Yeah, I mean, like I said. Yeah. So it's a shame that Kieran Tierney couldn't really excel, but with the injuries and all that, I'm kind of glad that he ended his career at Arsenal. I'm glad he got recalled from loan. Like I said, like anytime he played for us this year, he was very good, and the last goal was just an epitome of what he could have been. And like I said, he's like his teammates at Arsenal, and I think he's like from our fan base as well.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All good?
Yeah.
Thanks, Alonso. Alonso, thanks. Tony, thanks. Dan, thanks. Gary, thanks. Enjoyed this. We had a really good chat, good catch up. We'll do this again. Take care, everyone. Look forward to the summer.
And remember, we've got no outro music, so.
Ray's have to add it in there. Stan, like I said,
Take care, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Goodbye.